This is the ultimate guide to New York. We review every major attraction in the city, from the Statue of Liberty to all 5 observation decks, parks, and more. After watching this, you'll know exactly what to do on your next trip here. Most important thing is that if you want to go to the crown of the Statue of Liberty, you need to go to the following website at least 1 to 2 months out. In the summer, it might even be 3 or 4 months. I say, if you're going to do the Statue of Liberty, you've got to do it right. We reserved these tickets in November.
My first time in New York was 5 years ago, and I haven't done it, so I'm excited.
So we are about to walk to airport-style security to board the boat, and guess what? It's starting to snow, the first snowfall of 2020, right as we go to the Statue of Liberty. I mean, I don't think we could have timed it any better. Oh, thank you. We are off on this snowy afternoon. I don't know if we're gonna see the statue very well with all this cloud cover and snow, but we're gonna do our best. Guys, that was really cool. It was like the statue just appeared out of the mist. It's kind of like being in an old sailor movie.
Watch your step, please, watch your step.
It was really touching to hear some tourists on the boat saying, "Oh my God, that's it. I've only seen that in movies." And it makes me realize that even as a New Yorker, I take things like this for granted, not visiting the Statue of Liberty ever until right now. A lot of people don't realize is that the pedestal was built by the US, and a lot of that money was raised from the general public. $100,000 was raised from the general public, a lot of it donations as small as $1. So the US is very proud of the Statue of Liberty.
Don't feel my toes. I don't feel my toes.
Very important. If you have a ticket for the crown or the pedestal, you have to use one of these lockers, 25 cents. You can't bring a tripod up there. You can only bring, I believe, a cell phone, water bottle, and a camera. So they keep it pretty Spartan because they don't want people to waste a lot of time there. We are through our second security screening, just trying to avoid slipping. We're heading towards the pedestal, the first stop on our way crown of the Statue of Liberty. We've got a lot of steps to go, you'll see. You have a choice. You could take 195 steps to get to the pedestal, or you could take an elevator. No surprise the elevator had a line. No line to take the stairs, but I've made so many poor dietary decisions lately, I'm gonna take the stairs for sure. Alright, I'm starting to re-examine this decision to take the stairs, but 128 more to go. We made it to the pedestal. Look how foggy New York City is right now. Oh, thank you very much. So you can actually get tickets just for the pedestal, and one of the draws of the pedestal, which unfortunately isn't very good today, is you have a great view of Manhattan, but I just showed you, you can barely see a thing. However, you can kind of peek at the statue from below.
Looks beautiful. I think the fact that it's snowing makes it very magic. It doesn't matter if I don't see the city. This is so cool.
All right, this is what we've been waiting for. 146 steps to get to the crown. Guys, look how small these steps are. Now I understand why they didn't want us to bring bags or anything up here. These steps are so narrow. This is kind of trippy. I'm inside the Statue of Liberty right now. Like somebody wake me up from this dream. Guys, little known fact, Alexander Gustav Eiffel designed the interior of the Statue of Liberty. That name may be familiar because 3 years after the Statue of Liberty opened, the Eiffel Tower opened in Paris. So it's got that touch.
Covered in snow today, which is very nice.
Guys, we can see the torch. We can see the tablet. Oh my goodness. This has got to be one of the coolest places to be in New York City, especially on a snowy day. Especially on a snowy day.
That's so cool. If you're claustrophobic, this is not for you.
Guys, that's the hair. When did they build this staircase to the crown?
You know, this was modified in the 80s. So there was an old, have you ever been in a lighthouse like Cape Hatteras?
Yeah.
Or kind of the old staircase where they had kind of crates, they had holes and you could see all the way down.
I will say the stairs to the crown were a lot trickier than I thought because of the angle and how narrow they were, but the park rangers at the top were so friendly. They answered all our questions. There's not a lot of space. You can't really stay for too long, but completely worth it. Don't you guys go anywhere though. We're gonna show you around some other cool things at the Statue of Liberty, and then we're going to Ellis Island. Our weather was perfect today. We got the snow, so look, we have this cool backdrop, and now it's cleared, and we have this beautiful view of Manhattan over my right shoulder. I mean, we couldn't have planned a better day for sightseeing at the Statue of Liberty than today, guys. It's amazing. This is probably the best spot to take a photo of the Statue of Liberty. You line yourself right up in front, like this. Don't sleep on this museum right here. We had a chance to walk around. It only opened in May. A lot of people don't even realize that it's here. I mean, you could see how the statue was constructed. You see the original torch, which was taken down in 1984, and they have this cool interactive exhibit where you take a photo, say where you're from, and they put you on the big screen. So, yeah, a part of you will always live on in the museum. Very nice, and now we are heading to Ellis Island. You have to think of the historical significance of this right now. 12 million immigrants came to Ellis Island, and one of the first things they saw in the United States was a Statue of Liberty staring at them just like this. I would say that Ellis Island has some significance for me since my family immigrated to the United States from Ukraine in the late 1970s. Now, they didn't come through here, they flew. But just think about all the immigration in the US and how many people have roots that started where we're about to walk through, right through these doors. We're in the registry room. I actually haven't been to Ellis Island since I was in elementary school. And I don't know why, but I always think of the scene from The Godfather Part 2 when Vito Corleone comes to the US when I think of Ellis Island. It's just, I love that movie. But seriously, this room is really, really important in the history of the United States. This is where people's lives were changed if they were admitted to live here or not. All right, I'm sitting at the admission counter. What do you think, guys? Should I admit her to the United States? Purpose of visit?
I want to, I don't know.
You want to open up a cupcake shop?
Yes, and I want to eat all the cupcakes.
Okay, admitted.
I want to eat all the cupcakes in the US.
Admitted. You'd be absolutely crazy not to come to Ellis Island. It's free, included with your Statue of Liberty admission. Learn about the history of the United States. The exhibits here are incredible. I learned so much that I didn't even know before. Today we're getting a first look at Summit 1 Vanderbilt, New York's newest observation deck, and the city has never had something quite like this before. We're gonna take you through the entire experience. Make sure to watch till the end because I'll be comparing this to the other 4 observation decks in New York to give you my opinions. 1 Vanderbilt opened September 2020. It is the 4th largest building in New York City at 1,401 feet high. Literally, you can walk to Summit through Grand Central. You don't even have to go outside. We're on an early access tour for the public. I'm just like pumped up for this. This is amazing. The actual artist who designed the exhibits It's leading our tour. It's is like an immersive experience before we even get there.
And so your eyes are kind of settling into night vision as we wait for the elevator to arrive and start to kind of reprogram your senses as you emerge into air and the observation deck on the 9th.
Ears popping, ears popping.
We just did 91 floors in 43 seconds.
It's still technically under construction, we gotta put these on.
Don't look at your phone, give yourself a minute or two just to like live in the experience.
Absolutely breathtaking, just
I'm like stuck in a fun house, but I have all of the New York skyline to look at. This is, wow.
You might notice there are like 6 suns in here right now. Like weather, lightning storms, snowstorms, rainstorms.
So you're saying you could come here different times of year, different times of day, have a completely different experience?
Yeah.
This room is called Transcendence. He was telling us it took 3 years to design this. It's trippy. You can look up, see your reflection, look down, see other people's reflections, and you've got the skyline view there. This could be its own exhibit without even having an observation deck. Summer in there with all the heat from the sun, and now we're cooling off. Now it's like spring. So a sensory overload. It's an experience already. We've only been here for 15 minutes. What you do when you come here. This is actually part of the exhibit. I would pay $39 just to be inside here. I'm not even kidding with you. Just you take care of your stress, you know? We have this $1 million view, and I'm not even looking. We have Top of the Rock there, but we're just playing. Wow. They want this to feel like you're part of an organism, like everyone is interacting together in here. It's all interconnected. This is going to be very difficult to top in New York City, especially if you want to take cool photos or videos. We're at Alice in Wonderland here.
This is amazing, look at this.
Bathroom has the best view in the city. What's that?
Back in Barcelona at Casa Batlló.
The idea of Transcendence 2 is this kind of notion of both folding time and also showing you how interconnected air is to the organism that is New York City.
You are staring down at people that come to Transcendence 1, this is up here Transcendence 2, and his point was they might think that you're a reflection on the mirror somewhere down there. All of these mirrors like creating one organism. This is wild. I'm really speechless about this.
I think I can see 1,000 Jason Rupps down there because there's all these reflections of myself on each floor going down and down and down.
Asked us, are we afraid of heights? Well, we're gonna show you why they just asked us that question.
When I took my first step onto this platform, I felt my heart like rise up a few inches. It was weird.
We are 1,000 feet over Madison Avenue right now.
What the weight limit on this is.
Yeah, is there a weight limit? Tell me in the comments, would you stand 1,000 feet over Madison Avenue? Why or why not? So this is the cafe up here, and they were telling me that it's not gonna be reservation only. It's just for people who come by, and this is an incredible view. Just have a drink, a cocktail, special occasion. You're staring right at the Empire State Building. We are finally outside. We are saving maybe the best for last. Empire State Building, One World straight down there. Look, I can see all of Queens, Brooklyn. Truth be told, in many cities, you would just pay to come to an observation deck like this. In fact, in some ways, this is the least interesting part of the summit experience for me so far, being outside and staring at the city. Because you can pretty much do that at any observation deck, and they're all great, but this adds a little extra something to it. Guys, this is the grand finale. We're going on ascent to almost the top of the building, 1,201 feet above the city on the largest outdoor elevator in the world. I've been honestly most looking forward to this. Everything we saw today, we're about to go up. Here we go. Wow. open everywhere. Bottom to out here. This is a heck of a finale here. This is amazing. This is so cool. Absolutely one of the most unique things you can do in New York City. And this is just one of the exhibits here. Absolutely been insane. We're heading down now, ears popping. When does this end? We don't know when this ends.
Look at that. Wow, there's like 5 Jason Rupps right now.
Oh, 5. There's 5 Jaycations.
Holy gosh.
At least. No, I see a few hundred.
It feels like there's 500 people on this elevator right now. Opens October 21st. You can buy tickets today. See the link in the description. $39 gets you in the door. $59 includes that amazing ascent elevator. I'd pay the $20 every time if I was you.
Like I was trapped in a disco ball with a New York skyline around me.
I felt like I was in the Matrix or something, just going from room to room and seeing all these reflections and glass. I felt like Keanu Reeves just floating.
And I've been to every single observation deck in New York City. I've done every single one on a press tour like this. Nobody paid me to say this. Summit is my favorite because it's the only observation deck I've been to where I cared more about what was inside, what was going on around me and all those experiences versus the views. Because yeah, you get the nice views in there too, but what I think you're paying the money for is that immersive experience, as everyone was saying, just to feel a part of it. It is unbelievable and like something I've never seen in New York City. This is gonna turn into the hottest attraction in New York. Quote me on that. There are certain attractions in New York City that are overrun by tourists and yet are wildly popular. I've lived in New York for the last 10 years. I've never done any of these things. So today, I'm gonna go undercover and find out if they're actually worth it. But first, I need to look the part so none of my subscribers recognize me. Probably the first thing you ever think of when it comes to tourists in New York are those hop-on, hop-off buses. But we're gonna take Big Bus on the 90-minute downtown loop. I've never done this before, but I'm gonna try to keep an open mind and see what the hype is. You can actually see where the buses are in real time, so you're never wasting that much time waiting for them to pick you up. This is a little different for the channel, a little different. It's about 90 degrees today. This is probably as touristy as you can get, but I have to admit, getting a view from up here, can't really replicate this unless you're in a stretch limo, and even then you're not gonna be this high. Guys, look how close these traffic lights are. If I was a little taller, you could practically reach out and touch them. They have 5 different languages narrating the tours. My family from Mexico doesn't speak English. I'd consider putting them on this so they can have an idea of what they're seeing. Tenemos muchos ganos de explorar Nueva York. Increíbles. Listening to the history, it's accurate, it's good. My favorite observation deck in New York, Summit OV.
It's so hot, I wish there was like a vendor here and be like, can you throw me a Gatorade?
Look at this. There's different dangers up here than on the street. I would say this is the equivalent of taking a cruise ship. You can go to a lot of different stops in a short span, if that's what your objective is. There's a first level. You want to avoid the sun, get a little breeze from the window. Also an option. A little more fun upstairs though.
That's one of a kind. Where you guys from?
Jersey.
Oh, all right.
Around the corner.
Walk the waters, man.
We can walk. We've never done this before, so I wanted to do it once in my life.
All right.
How long have you been driving the bus?
Too long. Over 20 years.
Thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Have a good one.
You know, I
have to say my favorite thing about the bus tour was actually the bus driver. And that's good advice for any of you visiting New York. Even if you do the most touristy things possible, always chat with the locals, waiters, hotel staff, bus drivers. You get some great insights and a whole lot of personality. Overall, I think something like Big Bus does serve a purpose for people who just aren't adventurous enough to go out by themselves, for first-time visitors, maybe with small children, the elderly, disabled, different languages, and I'm glad I did it for the first time in my life. So I can't remember the last time I had to wait in line for a restaurant, but we're gonna do it. Ellis Stardust Diner. Known to many as one of the biggest tourist traps in New York City. It's 1950s themed. They have singing waiters, and I respect that a lot of these waiters want to be on Broadway someday. Is it worth it? I don't know. All right. It's like true communal seating. 21 bucks, maybe the most expensive basic burger I've actually ever seen in New York City. It's a burger. Not the worst I've had, not the best I've had, serviceable.
This is the Homer burger. And it's, instead of normal burger buns, it came with glazed donut. I'm always down for anything different, unique.
All right, let's do it. Let's see.
As long as it's good.
Fist bump. Always fist bumps. Oh, there's one.
You like it?
I weirdly like it. Maybe I'm just weird.
Couple notes, they do add 20% gratuity to your bill, which I'm fine with, but just be aware of it so you don't leave extra if you don't want to. I think there's certain people this would really appeal to, and I think if you watched it and you love that kind of performance nonstop, you're into really cheesy humor, if you love show tunes or have friends that are into show tunes, this is a charming place. Food was okay, it's expensive. I could give you an alternative if this isn't for you. I'd recommend Birdland Jazz Club if you want the live music and dinner experience. This is very touristy. I probably wouldn't come back, but it's not really my style. On a really low budget and you want some 99-cent gifts, the Grand Slam store in Times Square has a 99-cent section here. Keychain, shot glasses. I might even buy one of these. Every single hawker and vendor has tried handing us stuff because of these shirts, and I swear we're getting the stink eye from people for being dressed like this. They're like, really? You're wearing that? I don't know, I kind of like it. I have to admit, being a tourist is so tiring. I just want to go home and take a nap now. This is the Circle Line Harbor Lights Cruise. Every review of this I read said to come at least 45 minutes early if you want to get one of the outdoor seats. So we're here like 50 minminutes early, and there's still a line. Where's the best view, you think?
I would say the best view would be outside, right? You know, you have no obstructions.
Up here?
No windows, you want to be outside.
50 minutes early and the outside is like 75% full. Little insider tip for you there. $21 for 2 beers, but I do respect them for having a New York City brand here, Coney Island Brewing Company. I've had this Mermaid Pilsner before, it's really good. Of all the things on this video, I was actually most excited for this because the route that it takes at night, there is no cheaper way to see everything you're gonna see on a boat in New York City than taking the Circle Line at sunset.
Record time, under the budget, and the height of the Great Depression, the greatest skyscraper of them all. And one of the great wonders of the world we got in New York City today, that's our Empire State Building.
This tour guide's good.
Italian-American
He's
singer
really
Frank
good.
Sinatra. He's from Hoboken too.
So as you can see, the Statue of Liberty basically makes all the tourists go nuts. I get it though, like this is the picture everybody wants. it's not so bad being a tourist. The tour guide made a good point. This is the only boat that you could take that goes this far up the East River. It's actually true. I've been on some boats before. I never made it past the Williamsburg Bridge. So you actually do get some pretty unique views here. Italy, okay.
Yeah, I'm from North Italy.
Near Venice. I grew up in New Jersey. All the years I've lived in New York, I have never gone to the Statue of Liberty at sunset till right now. So I'm even excited like all these people are. I equate all the tourists crowding to the Statue of Liberty to the immigrants arriving at Ellis Island for the first time. It is the exact same effect. There it is. I've seen it in all the movies, and it's right in front of me. Of all the things we did today, the Circle Line tour at sunset was definitely my favorite. I think the views are worth the price of admission alone. I do have some small critiques. Now, everyone had a seat, but it got a little claustrophobic at times when people are trying to take photos of the Statue of Liberty. But outside of those small little things, totally worth the price of admission.
What's up, members of the barrio? It's John, coming to you from the meatpacking district of Manhattan, and we're standing in front of the Highline, which many tourists consider a must-visit when you come to New York City. So to help you out, we're going to be sharing the history, what to do, and even some insider tips. Here we go, the ultimate guide to visiting the Highline. Guys, make sure to check out our other New York City playlist, linked down below in the description. Let's go. Your first question might be, what is the Highline? It's a 1.45-mile elevated greenway running from the meatpacking district all the way to Hudson Yards. It has over 500 species of plants, trees, plenty of art, and a whole lot to do. This is 10th Ave, and in the mid-19th century, it was known as Death Avenue because so many people were hit by trains that were running right through here. In fact, it got so bad, they had to hire actual cowboys, who they called West Side Cowboys, to be riding in front of the trains with flags to warn people about incoming trains, and they still needed to do something else. The solution was the Highline, a higher train track which would run parallel to the west side of Manhattan. The first train started running in 1933 to deliver freight to the many factories along the way, and it had its boom up until the 1960s when trucking started to make the trains here obsolete. It had its last ride in 1980, and then it sat dormant for over 20 years. In fact, if you were coming here in the 90s or most of the 2000s, you would have just seen an overgrown, abandoned train track. A non-profit group called the Friends of the Highline fought hard to have this area preserved, and in 2009, after 3 years of construction, the Highline was open to the public, and 10 years later, it's one of the most popular tourist attractions in New York City. In fact, it was actually inspired by the Promenade Planty in Paris, which opened in 1993 and is pretty similar in concept. I highly recommend you download the app called the Highline. All of the art installations, nature, the lookout points, all that information is on here. It's going to make your trip a lot more informative. If you're interested, heck, I'm going to take a lot of the information for this video from the app. So this is the first stop on our tour, the Tiffany & Co. Foundation Overlook. You can just peek your head out, see the Meatpacking District and the Whitney Museum to our right. We are standing in front of Hector's Cafe and Diner, which is open 24 hours. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because this diner has a lot of cinema history. In fact, all of the diner scenes in the movie Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro were shot inside. It's been featured in Law & Order. And in the 1930s, it used to open up at 2 o'clock in the morning so that the employees of the neighborhood meat packing plants could come in and have a meal. One
One of the first places you walk on the Highline is called the Gansevoort Woodland, and it looks a little bit nicer with perfect fall foliage. But something to note is when you look out to the side, you see one of the only remaining meat packing plants down there. This area used to be full of them, hence the name Meatpacking District. So this is one of my favorite art exhibits on the Highline. It's called Four Arches, and as you walk by each of the four arches, it's supposed to symbolize a different season. Very cool. This is the 14th Street Passage, and while you may not notice it if you're walking on the right side, if you come to the left side, they have a projector going. It's called the Highline Channel, and they showcase a lot of different artists on there. So if the weather's nice, a little cold today, but sit down, enjoy whatever they've got going on screen. All right, guys, it is cold out, but I assure you, on a nice warm day, this is the spot you want to come to sunbathe. This is called the Gilder von Furstenberg Sun Deck and Water Feature. I think it's most well known for these amazing chairs just to relax, but they call it the water feature as well because during the warmer months, there's water running on the other side. You see little kids sometimes running over it, playing with it, and they put that special feature there because when this was actually a working railroad track, water would naturally accumulate there, so it was a little bit of a homage to that. Right behind me is the Chelsea Market passageway, and that's what this area is most well known for. Chelsea Market, the most famous food market in New York City. Highly recommend you visit just to stop by Los Tacos #1. The best tacos, not in New York City, but in Manhattan. But did you know that this whole area here used to be owned by the National Biscuit Company, also known as Nabisco, where legend has it the Oreo cookie was invented right here. Unfortunately, they left the area in 1959 to move to Fairlawn, New Jersey, where ironically enough, I was born and raised right over the Hudson River. Little history for you guys. We are at the 10th Avenue Square and Overlook. This is probably my favorite spot in the entire Highline just because it takes people watching to the next level. You look through the glass here and you're staring down on 10th Avenue and you just see regular New York City life from above. It's a different perspective, and truth be told, it's like live theater right on the Highline. Very cool stuff.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, and smile.
It's ridiculous. I'm just getting too famous. So when you walk up the steps from the Overlook, turn left, and there's a really cool little view, the Statue of Liberty in the distance. A lot of people don't even realize it. This is an interesting part of the Highline. It's called Chelsea Thicket. A couple of really neat things going on. One is you see the railroad tracks very distinctly running next to it. You've got trees growing directly over the tracks, and you also have a lot of the leaves from the trees hanging down below, so it gives you a feeling like you're walking through a forest. Definitely one of my favorite paths on the Highline. A lot of people are stopping here to stare at this clock, which actually doesn't have any numbers on it. It's called Silent Agitator, and the clock says organization. It actually speaks to the rights of industrial workers around the world, and I think it's pretty neat. We're at the Falcone flyover, and I find one thing super distinctive about this little 2-block stretch. Look how big these leaves are falling off the trees. You come face to face with the trees as you're walking here, and if you look on either side, you might just see some really cool art installations as we're passing Chelsea, which is one of the biggest art districts in the entire city. This is the 26th Street viewing spur. A lot of people are taking photos here. You can overlook 10th Ave and 26th, but it's actually designed in a way where they used to hang billboards here over the Highline when it wasn't in use, like it is right now. So it kind of brings back that effect a little bit. Reached the crossroads of the Highline. This is actually the widest part of the park, and the X right here, this bench signifies where the path goes from north to south to east to west. It's very subtle. Most people don't even realize it's here. And also behind me, you have the Shed, which is the newest and like the hottest new spot to see performances in New York City. And we're going to be approaching the Vessel really soon as well at Hudson Yards. Guys, we are standing in front of the Spur, which is the final part of the Highline to be open. And ironically enough, it's actually closed the entire weekend, so we can't really show you it, but it extends that way. And when it's open, you can see skyscrapers. They also are gonna have a lot of art exhibits over there. These are the Pershing Square beams, and this is really just a place for kids to run around and go over under the beams. I guess it feels like you're playing at a railroad track in a safe way, of course. So if you have kids, bring them right here. I love the Highline, and I love how the landscape changes depending on what street you're on. As we're approaching the end, we're at the Intram walkway. There's some crazy Soviet sounding music playing, but if you look here, you see what the Highline would have looked like in the 90s and the 2000s when it didn't have any use, when it was abandoned. It gives you that kind of a vibe. It's wild and it blends into the landscape. This is one of my new favorite spots to come on the Highline for sure. We made it 22 blocks. We're at the end, the CSX transportation gate, the only spot of the Highline that's at street level. And I barely broke a sweat. I mean, what a scenic walk. And although this is one of the most touristy things to do in New York City, honestly, I love what they have done to the Highline, turning something abandoned into something that the public can come and enjoy with all the art and all the nature here. This is a can't miss when you come to New York City. Today, we are going to the top of the Rock for the first time in my life. I've lived in New York City for almost a decade, and this is one of the most popular attractions in the entire city. And I'm gonna let you guys know if I think it's worth the $40 admission. This video is not sponsored. I'm gonna be as honest as possible. We're going 70 floors above the city to check out one of the best views of all of Manhattan. Make sure to check out my other New York City playlist, linked down below for other great ideas for your next trip to New York City. Here we go.
I heard good things about it. I heard that you can see actually Central Park, and that's why I'm so excited. And I think I should have done this a long time ago. So I'm really, really excited for this.
Very important. You can buy your ticket online in advance. It's $40 during the day. They increased the cost to $50 around the sunset period. We're gonna check it out with as much light as we can, pre-saved right here, so you get to skip the big line. So we just got past security. It's just like airport security, same thing at One World Observation Deck. A quick note, you can actually tour the studios at 30 Rock, which is right next door, and I highly recommend if you're interested in going behind the scenes of NBC Studios, you could do that before this and then come here after. Tourist photos are optional, by the way. Don't have to take them, but I don't blame them for trying. Minutes of waiting. We are online for the elevators to go to the top. Should be a very quick ride.
Alrighty, next up is 67. You should be there in about 43 seconds. I hope you guys enjoy. Bye-bye. Make me famous. No, I'm kidding.
I have a dream.
All right, so we made it to the 67th floor, and I admit that the elevator ride at One World Trade Observation Deck, way better than this one, but this was okay. I mean, it only took 43 seconds. I am most excited to see these outdoor views here, and that's one thing that Top of the Rock has that One World Observation Deck does not have, the ability to go outside. And I've never been here before, guys, so getting excited.
For those who say that I only come to the videos when there is food involved, there is no food involved in this one, and here I am.
Wow. Central Park.
It looks so cool. I like to see the lake down there. Let me do a close-up for you so you can see what I'm talking about.
One of the most unique features of being at the top of the rock is that you feel like you are amongst the buildings, and that's what makes this different than, let's say, One World Observation Deck, where you're all the way up there, highest point in the United States, but you feel above everything. Here, I just feel like the buildings are surrounding me, so it's definitely unique in that aspect. I've also noticed how many languages I'm hearing being spoken up here. This is one of the biggest tourist attractions in New York City. That was just the first observation deck. We have the 69th and 70th floors to go. So if that was just it, I wouldn't have been super impressed, but I knew that we were going higher up. It's just gonna get better and better, I think.
Oh, it's very nice. It's amazing. I mean, first time in New York and I expected this.
I'm actually impressed about one thing so far. There's not as many people up here as I thought there would be. Look behind me. I thought it would be absolutely packed. And one of the advantages up top of the rock, from what I've seen, is that there's 3 decks. Therefore, you can spread the amount of people out. So we have plenty of room for pictures. Of course, we haven't gotten to the top, which will have, in my opinion, the best views. But so far, so good.
Go to the top of the rock.
All right, guys, really cool fact for you, and special thanks to Seth, my good friend, and my old art history professor at Rutgers for informing me about this. So when John D. Rockefeller Jr. built this up here, he wanted coming to work in this building to be an adventure, and the top observation deck to be like being on a great ocean liner. So if you look at both sides here and the middle over here with the antennas, it almost looks like you're on the top of a ship. And I didn't realize it until my friend Seth sent me the photo. Very, very cool architecture. And I love this building as well. Just an excellent example of old school Art Deco New York City building. And not that crowded. I keep saying it. We waited a while to get up here, but once at the top, we've got a lot of room to walk around. I'm actually enjoying that compared to One World Trade. That was really packed into an indoor space. Here we're outside enjoying a beautiful summer day and just some of the nicest views I've seen in New York City ever. By the way, if you've been up here, I'm very curious what your experience was like. Did you think it was worth the money? Tell us down below in the comments. His first full day in the United States, first day in New York City, and this is your first attraction. What do you think?
Oh, this is amazing, John. I mean, I didn't research about this building, but you can see everything. The Hudson, Chrysler Building, Empire State. I'm really in love and enjoy this visit.
Just in case I get lost, I can have it always with me. Wait, this now.
I was actually reading TripAdvisor reviews. I was curious what the biggest complaints about coming here were, and outside of the wait and the lines to get in, one of them was save your money and go to a rooftop bar in New York City. You can get better views. I'll tell you, we have done so many rooftop bars. We just did a video about rooftop bars, and while many of them have great views, I'm looking at U235th especially, or Dear Irving was really good. None of them have a better view than this, especially because it's a 360-degree view of the city. That's just tough to find anywhere. So we've spent a little over 45 minutes here, and I'm going to give you my full and honest opinion of if it's worth it to come here when we get outside. That way they can't hear me, and I'll just be completely upfront. Is it worth coming to Top of the Rock? This is a very complicated answer. In short, if you've never visited New York City before and you are into photography and you just want to get a feel of what it's like to be in between so many big buildings, yes, I think it would be worth spending $40 on this. It's touristy, the lines can be long, it can be a little bit crowded at different spots, but the types of pictures that you can get up there, you know, those are the sorts of things you're going to be sharing for years to come. You're going to put it on your Instagram. What's up, members of the Barrio? It's John coming to you from Central Park, perhaps the most famous park in the United States, if not the world. This place is on every tourist's itinerary, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 15 things to do in Central Park in order to plan that perfect day here. Guys, make sure to tell me down below in the comments if I missed anything, and also watch my other New York City playlists, all linked down below in the description. Here we go. Guys, before we begin, 5 quick facts about Central Park. It was first opened to the public in 1858. It runs from 59th Street to 110th. It has 9,000 benches, 58 miles of pedestrian paths, and has 42 million visitors a year. I want to let you know that this guide was shot in geographical order, so you can literally follow all of these stops from one to the other, although I do warn you, it's going to take you most of the day. We're starting the tour at the very top of Central Park, and right behind me is the Blockhouse. It's actually a little bit tricky to find, but it is worth discovering. This was built to defend New York City during the War of 1812. Now, you actually can't get inside, it's locked, but this is a really impressive structure to look at. It is the oldest building left standing in Central Park, and the only remaining fortification from the War of 1812, so if you're a history buff, start that perfect day in Central Park right here. Manhattan might be the last place on earth that you would expect to be able to fish legally, but that's exactly what you can do in Central Park. Stop by the Charles A. Dana Discovery Center on the northern part of Central Park. Pick up a fishing pole for free. They give you little bait, it's just corn. You can't even cast with the fishing pole, you just drop the hook in. One of the rules is you can't keep any of the fish that you catch. Also, you have to watch out for turtles and any wildlife, you know, just to be safe about it. But this is something that's really relaxing and not exactly the type of thing you would expect to do on a trip to Central Park, but I highly recommend you give this a try. Guys, I'll be honest with you, I think some of the best parts of Central Park are at the north, and the Conservatory Garden is an absolute gem. It actually has a lot of foundations based off of European gardening. There's a section that's English, Italian, French. Roam around, look at amazing fountains, really cool viewpoints, and just tons of flowers and nature all around you. This is the kind of spot you could just come to escape the city and relax for a while. Believe me, put this on your Central Park list. We're in front of Huddlestone Arch, and this is one of the most scenic arches to take a photo or a video of. As you walk through the ravine area of the park, and as you can see, it is held up by uncut boulders. It's been here since 1866, and just a quick stop for you to make on that perfect day in Central Park. Just steps away from Huddlestone Arch, continuing along the ravine part of Central Park, we've got the loch, and loch in Scottish means lake. You can see this beautiful cascade right behind me. Just a chill spot to come, take some photos, hang out. Very neat spot. Central Park has a really cool rooftop garden that a lot of people don't know about. Shout out to my friend Chip for giving me this idea for the video. There's only one elevator in the entire museum that even goes there. It's on the 5th floor, and once you exit, you just have a gorgeous view of both the skyline and Central Park. Take it all in, walk around. I'm not gonna recommend you get a drink though. It's $15 for a glass of wine and $10 for a beer. But just for the views and to take a little bit of a break from the park, the perfect pit stop. Team Adriana and I decided to have lunch in front of a 3,000-year-old Egyptian obelisk. No surprise, it's located directly behind the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Cleopatra's Needle was erected here in 1881, and it had 3 different locations before it even set foot in New York City. This thing is awesome. Just staring at it, you can see ancient hieroglyphs. They even have the translations of the hieroglyphs if you get close enough to the obelisk. And it has such a neat and unique history. In fact, it is the oldest public monument in all of New York City. So make sure you stop by after going to the Met. We're standing in front of the Whisper Bench, and we're going to explain why it's called that in a second. You have to find the Shakespeare Garden, and a Shakespeare Garden usually has different plants that were mentioned in some of Shakespeare's plays, and this one here is no different. Work your way up the stairs, find the Whisper Bench. We're gonna test it out. If I talk onto one end of the bench, will you guys hear it on the other side? All right, if you can hear this, make sure to leave me a comment and tell me that you heard me through the Whispering Bench. So it's pretty cool. Definitely come up here and, play around, see if you can hear each other on either side. Very similar to the Whispering Wall in Grand Central Station. Of all the things on this video, I think this might be my favorite. Sail the park for $12. You get to rent a little model sailboat. They give you the controls and you take it away. Just wait for a windy moment and watch your boat soar around this little man-made lake. A lot of fun, and you also get a lot of attention. Everyone keeps stopping and taking photos. To me, this is such a cool activity to do in the park, especially if you have kids. I think they would absolutely love to try this. So make sure, if you're into it, to definitely consider renting a model sailboat when you get to the park. The crowd behind me is gathering next to the Alice in Wonderland statue, which was commissioned by philanthropist George Delacourt in honor of his late wife, who loved reading Alice in Wonderland to her children. And they made this sculpture so that all the children of New York and whoever's visiting could come and play here. Very cool, and they have all the characters from Alice in Wonderland, like Alice, the Mad Hatter, the little cat hanging out in the background. So another super cool spot to bring kids or just take some really cool photos. Something that a lot of people overlook when they come to Central Park are the Minton tiles on the ceiling of the Bethesda Terrace arcade. Usually you're just gonna walk through and not really pay attention, but I'm encouraging you to stop and look up. When you walk inside the arcade, you see a tiled ceiling with more than 15,000 colorful patterned tiles from England's famous Minton Tile Company. These were actually originally used on the floors of European cathedrals, but here you see them on the ceiling, and it leads directly to Central Park Lake, where for $15 you could rent a rowboat if you'd like. We're in front of what may be the most famous landmark in Central Park, Strawberry Fields. This 2.5-acre manicured section of Central Park is dedicated to the late Beatle John Lennon, who was murdered right across the street in front of his apartment in Dakota. And his wife, Yoko Ono, actually helped them arrange this here. And it's just a beautiful little section of the park. They have an Imagine mosaic. And sometimes when you come here, you'll find somebody playing Beatles music, which is exactly what we ran into today. We are just chilling right now at Sheep Meadow, which is the largest lawn in Central Park without a ball field. It's 16 acres wide, and this is the kind of spot where a lot of people like to picnic, like to throw frisbees around, just hang out with a group of friends. This is one of the most popular spots in the park, just to come with friends or family. And if you're curious how this place got its name, Sheep Meadow, there actually were sheep that used to graze here from 1864 to 1934, so the name is very fitting.
Unfortunately, we walked around so many hours today that we just missed the carousel. It closes at 6 p.m. And to me, this is a must visit. When you come to Central Park, it's just $3.25, a great activity for children. This particular carousel was originally installed in Coney Island and then came here in 1951. So it's a real classic and a really fun thing to do on that first trip to Central Park. Guys, you can imagine we're riding the carousel. Number 15 is do whatever you want. You actually don't need a plan when you come to Central Park. Literally, the first 2 or 3 times I ever came here, I didn't know where anything was. I just wandered. I mean, you could just stop and watch a softball game, rent a bike on a whim, people watch, set up a picnic, whatever you want to do. You actually don't have to plan a trip to Central Park. Sometimes it's actually more fun not to have a plan, just roam around. You've got plenty of room. It could take you many, many hours. This is why they call it the Edge. Today, we're getting a first look at New York's newest attraction. 100 stories above Manhattan, this is the highest outdoor observation deck in the Western Hemisphere. I'm John, a New York City vlogger, and we're going to show you the whole experience from the bottom to the top. Stay tuned until the end because we'll let you know if we think it's worth the cost of admission or not. Let's discover the Edge. This is really interesting. I like being the first to see things. It's kind of nice. It's going to be a 60-second elevator ride. I'm really curious what this is going to be like. All right, it's showing the construction of New York. Sort of similar to One World Observatory, a little bit different. My ears are popping. That's a good sign. Okay, we made it. Thank you.
Standing on here, if you're afraid of heights, you probably will have that like lose your stomach feeling. You know that feeling. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend standing here if you're afraid of heights, but it is really cool.
They just had the grand opening ceremony. Now it's open to anybody to go film, and we're going to give you a bit of a walkthrough. So we've got the revolving door to get you out. And obviously this is the best part, the fact that you are outside, under the sun, 100 stories above the west side of Manhattan. So that's already a huge plus, which I'm liking a lot. And something unique about this observation deck is the glass. Now, at Top of the Rock, the glass, it feels like you're more contained. Nothing against Top of the Rock, I love the view there, but I'm really appreciating that this glass is angled, so it feels like, you know, you could lean out and almost like touch what you're looking at. And we have New Jersey over there, maybe not the best view. And then of course, Lower Manhattan is just straight away. You can see the entire financial district, and you know, the viewpoint here is pretty unique because we're all the way on the west side of Manhattan, where a lot of the other observation decks in New York are either in Midtown or in the financial district downtown. So this gives you a different perspective. I think I'm taking for granted right now what I'm looking at, but this is pretty incredible. All right, so now we're gonna show you why they call it the Edge. This is the most famous point that you probably see in all the photos when you come here. And it's right here. In fact, there's a little spacing where you can, this is the scary part, you can reach your hand out and just lean here
And this is $1 million view. I'm not even kidding you right now. And you can see so much of Manhattan too. I mean, I'm even looking up in this direction. I see the George Washington Bridge down there. I see all of Midtown. There's not a whole lot that's hiding. I could even see Central Park. Granted, Top of the Rock, I think, has a little bit of a better view of Central Park, but you could see it. This is the view that I imagine would scare some people. Yeah.
It's right here.
Right here feels like if this wasn't here, that'd be a long drop, but.
I'm shaking. I'm gonna
You're
move.
good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wow. The city just goes on beneath us. We just continue in this direction and Empire State Building. It's literally looking at you. In fact, I wonder the people on the observation deck of the Empire State Building, you can almost wave at them. Can't quite see anybody, but I think they could see us. It's a little windy here depending on what month you come. I would expect the temperature to be a degree or two cooler, 100 stories above the city, and a little windier.
It's still cold.
And still cold.
I think it's going to be really cool in the summer.
I think it'd be really cool to be here at sunset. If I was to book a ticket, and you can get it, see when sunset is and book it about 30 to 40 minutes before sunset and enjoy something pretty special. All right, so I think the best view of the highest observation deck in the Western Hemisphere is on the stairs, so do not skip coming to the stairs. If you just want to hang out while everyone else is taking pictures, this is the spot to chill. This is just a great vantage point because you sit your butt here and right in front of you, you've got One World Trade, the observatory, and Lower Manhattan. I mean, it's a pretty cool view. I could get used to this. Now, I do want to point out above that you can go to the Peak Restaurant, which is opening shortly if you want to have dinner with a pretty cool view. I don't have too many details about it yet, but we might check it out on another video. So we're walking towards New Jersey. I guess this is the less popular edge because, well, the view isn't as nice. Everyone's kind of hanging out towards the view that shows the Empire State Building, but still, the opportunities to take pictures here are pretty crazy. Everyone around me is just taking photos nonstop. This is all media. Just discovered the bar here. They have beers starting at $8, wine starting at $14, and they're gonna serve the drinks in polyethylene cups, so you can take your drink outside as well. That would be a really good idea if you came here at sunset. I would think that would be my play. Come here at sunset, get a drink, go outside, enjoy the view. Honestly, $8 for a beer up here, I was expecting more. And this is the gift shop here, like Hudson Yards, Edge memorabilia. Highest outdoor sky deck in the Western Hemisphere. You know what's interesting? The view from the inside reminds me a little bit of One World Observatory. Very similar vibe. Just a different perspective because we're on the west side and we're looking east towards Midtown. Empire State Building, Chrysler Building. So don't forget about coming inside to get even more interesting views. Now we're literally straight across from the Empire State Building, actually. Wow, wow. Look at this. A surprise on the way down. It's the Highline. Whoa. Yeah. It's a vessel. a really epic elevator ride down. I like down better than up.
Hi guys, welcome
Hey.
back. Step right through the double doors and to your right to exit.
Thank you. It is $36 to come up here to the edge. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely, especially if you're into photography, if you're into seeing cities from up above. If that's something you always do when you visit a new place, 100% put the edge on your list. Times Square has more tourist traps than any other spot in New York City. You know, the kinds of places where locals only go if they've got friends or family visiting. Today, I'm gonna be checking out as many of these places as possible to see what the hype's about. Madame Tussauds, the world's most famous wax museum, 26 different locations, and an admission charge of $47. Every time I've ever walked by here, it's jam-packed. Never thought I'd actually go in, but today, we're gonna make it happen. This is pretty much the most touristy thing you could possibly do in New York City. I mean, I'll put this as #1. After I've seen the movie House of Wax, I can never look at one of these again and not think that he's real. I'm tired of seeing all these mainstream celebrities here. Where are the YouTubers? Wait, that looks just like Action Kid, the New York City live streamer, but I thought he moved to Miami. How did he get a wax dummy here? He's so lifelike. Wait, he has a microphone? Is it on? He's alive. How did you get here?
Madame Tussauds hired me. This reminds me of like the memojis from iPhone.
You know, Jimmy, funny story. I actually wasn't planning on being a YouTuber. This stuff happened by accident.
You know, Wendy, I moved to Miami and it was a big mistake. It's boring there. It's all everything but the beach.
So this is the closest you'll probably ever see Obama and Trump again.
Well, this is cool, man. I mean, you got the actual New York City subway staircase, the tiling, the lettering for the subway. Can't get any better than this.
Hi. This is just like a completely manicured world of New York. Like, you could actually just go out and experience it yourself too if you want. This guy's hiding here.
Oh my gosh.
Evil subway worker. Why is he over there in the corner like that?
Some crazy special effects here.
He's so tall. So my issue with this spot is that it's just a lot of tourists who buy those attraction passes and they just check off all the lists of places they have to go. It was interesting, but for New York City, I think there's so many more authentic places you could go to for 2 hours. Every single New York City tourist trap in one block.
Oh, wow.
Bubba Gump shrimp. I never in a million years thought I'd actually be eating here. Based off one of my favorite movies ever, Forrest Gump. Their fictional company became a national restaurant chain, and that happy hour is calling my name. Let's see if we can turn a tourist trap into a little hidden gem. All right. Feels like I'm entering Applebee's. I'll do a margarita. You want a margarita? One garlic bread, one popcorn shrimp, one Bubba's dip.
Yeah, I'll get those started for you.
Let's do it. I don't know how much alcohol is in here, but for $5, I was expecting half cup size here. Cheers. That's not bad, actually. I do think it's a little bit maybe diluted, but...
Popcorn shrimp.
Oh, right here.
Gotcha. How about the dip?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I got it. Action, can you ready? Let's try this?
Yeah, let's try it.
Gump shrimp, the namesake. We gotta try some popcorn shrimp.
Popcorn shrimp.
$6 happy hour. Ready? That's not bad.
Oh.
That's not bad at all.
It's actually pretty good.
I'm surprised.
Good amount of shrimp in there.
You know, if you're stuck in Times Square for whatever reason, between 3 and 6 p.m. during the weekdays, this is a pretty interesting deal.
Oh, it's fresh, full of spinach and tomatoes. Not bad. For the price, $6. If I was in Times Square for a long period of time and didn't know where else to eat, this is a decent place to come.
So if you're watching this and you're planning a trip to New York and you're wondering what's not a tourist trap in Times Square, we actually just released new guides to New York City. We've got a dedicated Times Square Midtown guide, a mix of attractions and places where you may be the only tourist. They've got maps, audio guides, written blurbs. I curated all of it, 50% off, limited time only. See the link down below in the description. It's like having me in your back pocket. I think the butt of every Times Square joke is saying eat at the Olive Garden. Well, that's exactly what we're about to do. There's over 900 of these in the United States. This is the only location in Manhattan. It's kind of iconic that it happens to be right in Times Square. We got a 15-minute wait for the Olive Garden at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday. This is exciting. I've never taken an escalator to go into an Olive Garden before. I used to dine at the Olive Garden when I lived in New Jersey. Little known fact, before I was adventurous with life. By sheer luck, we have gotten the corner table where I can see Times Square, and if this was New Year's Eve, I could even see the ball drop from here. People would pay probably $1,000 for this table on December 31st.
This is amazing, man. Probably the best view of Times Square right here.
So we were just completely unoriginal. We literally ordered off the front pictures. Tour of Italy, chicken Alfredo, chicken and shrimp carbonara.
Yeah, real original, but let's see how they taste.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I haven't had an Olive Garden breadstick since Obama was president. Right.
Okay.
It tastes exactly the same. Exactly the same.
I think it's pretty good. It's got butter on it, crunchy.
I read a cool fact about the Olive Garden. They give you one more breadstick than amount of people in your table. So we got 4. Because they had a problem with too many people wasting breadsticks.
Tastes like airplane food.
First class or coach airplane food? There's a distinction there.
Business class airplane food.
Okay.
That's what it tastes like.
We got my chicken Alfredo. I don't know if it's really promising just looking at this. Kind of questioning what life decisions led me to this moment, but here we are at the Olive Garden in Times Square. Let me try a little chicken, a little Alfredo sauce, a little pasta. You know what? Chicken's actually not as dry as I thought it was going to be from the looks of it. At least the view's nice, huh? It's the Olive Garden. Yeah.
This is the chicken and shrimp carbonara. I got a mix of everything in here. Shrimp wasn't as good as Bubba Gump's. It was a little bit more mushy. Chicken, the same, but at least it's not dry compared to what John's. I'd rather have my dish than John's.
I think my issue with this is it has like no personality. It just tastes like a chain restaurant's pasta. I'm not trying to bash Olive Gardens nationwide because I know there are many fans of the Olive Garden. I just think that the New York culinary scene is so deep and diverse that even in Midtown, you can find a lot of interesting restaurants. And this is the tourist equivalent of seeing the Golden Arches for fast food. Like, oh, Olive Garden, we have that back home. I know what that is.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with you, John. There's a lot better options here than Olive Garden and Times Square for sure.
I'm trying to think if I've had a worse Italian meal in New York. I said I didn't before, now I'm starting to reconsider that statement. I can't think of what was worse.
Olive Garden.
Sorry. I will give them a big compliment. They had super fast and efficient service, so the waiters and the staff were fantastic here. The food at the Olive Garden is the way the food at the Olive Garden always is. There is something special about Times Square when the sun sets, really.
Anybody in the mood for Halloween early? Oh. I smell candy all over the place right now.
smells like candy. Yeah.
It smells like sugar in here.
I've been to the M&M store a few times with Adriana. This is a tourist trap that's actually kind of cool. This isn't something you can find every day, and I think they have cool souvenirs here. Plus, look at all these flavors. I don't think you're gonna find this in your random street corner in Pennsylvania.
I know, even from a chain store like CVS, those M&M packets, how many flavors are gonna have, honestly? You know?
Oh, look at the Statue of Liberty. 1995. Cool souvenir. Oh boy, it fell. Well, every time Action Kid's in my video, he drops something. And it's not the first time Action Kid has dropped something on my video. Oh shoot. Folks. We really cannot take this guy anywhere.
It's the microphone cable. Dragging off someone's backpack strap.
Really useful tip, on the 3rd floor, one of the rare public bathrooms in all of Times Square.
Today, we'll be trying everything in sight at DeKalb Market, Brooklyn's largest food hall with over 40 vendors, and it doesn't get the attention it deserves. We'll be eating our way around the world from Colombia to Jamaica and more. Here we go.
What's up, members of the Barrio? Coming to you from downtown Brooklyn, and today the goal is to showcase as many spots in DeKalb Market that we can. We're gonna eat a lot, and I'm bringing someone who's up to the task, my good friend and my favorite food critic in New York, Evan.
Honestly, I am so excited about this. I'd heard about this for a little while. Now that I'm in Brooklyn, time to eat.
There's 40 different stalls here, so we have way too many choices, but we're gonna do our best. You know what this reminds me of a lot, guys? Reading Terminal Market in Philly, but smaller.
We get to choose, or? Okay, perfect. All right, so we just picked up the barbecue pulled turkey, because where else are you gonna find pulled turkey at? Grab the braised kale, the vegan barbecue baked beans, and now we're gonna grab the coleslaw as well.
All right, 1 down, 4 to go. There's something for everybody in your group. So if one person wants arepas, one person wants pulled pork, whatever, you can find it.
Oh, I'm loving every single second of this. Well, one thing's for sure, skinny is not something that I do very well. That's when you start bringing the New York out of me. You know it's good when you start bringing the New York out of me.
I don't think now you know, I think now you don't.
Oh!
Tell you what, why don't we get some patties? That'll be good to split. Perfect. Yeah. This is our 5th spot. We're getting some Jamaican beef patties, and we might get more, I don't know. Guys, I'm literally not kidding. My biceps are sore from holding pounds of food waiting for this table. I have to say, I don't think I've ever quite done something like this for the channel, getting 5 different restaurants and eating them all at once. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be interesting. You know, of all the places that we got food from, Polky's was the one I was most curious about. Jewish barbecue. So instead of pork, we've got turkey. Let's see if something different can be good.
Well, cheers, sir.
Cheers. Okay.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because I really like the sauce. And I wasn't expecting it to be as pork-like in terms of texture.
I was about to say the same thing. I said, if you didn't tell me that it was turkey, I may have actually thought it was pork. Literally, the barbecue sauce, I can't tell the difference. You?
No, and honestly, I like that there's like just a touch of vinegar in here just to give it a little acidity. So this way you get that nice tang to it on the back end, but like, it's just, this is unexpected, but unexpected in a very good way.
Yeah, we have a lot of different types of food to eat. I mean, this is like the true New York City experience. We're going from Jewish barbecue to Colombian food to Polish pierogies to donuts to Jamaican beef patties. We're going all over the world in one market. You know, it wouldn't be barbecue food if we didn't have some kinds of sides. So I have baked beans. You've got kale?
I got braised kale because, you know, you got to be healthy with this kind of stuff, right?
Oh, real healthy today. All right, let's do it. Let's try it. way better than I expected. Honestly, these beans are excellent. A lot of flavor, good barbecue flavor on this.
The kale is really surprising because you get a little bit of sweetness on the front end. The texture is there, so it's not like they overcooked it and it's just mushy. It's got a nice little bit of a bite left to it. It's got a little heat on the back end, so like it's that sweet, spicy. Like honestly, if I could figure out how to make this kale myself, I would crush this at home, like literally every single day. And you can ask my roommate; he'll tell you I like to cook, but I wish I knew how to cook this.
I hear from your roommate that you never actually cook, but
I cook. It sounded like I set the house on fire today, but that's a whole other thing.
I just tried the Colombiana soda by accident. Never tried this before. It tastes like a cherry, maybe? Cherry flavor? I'm not sure. It's really unique. And I think that means we're about to move on to trying some of the Colombian food from the Arepa Lady. One of the great things about this market is you have some outposts from famous New York City street food or famous restaurants. We've got Katz's, we've got the Arepa Lady, so you can actually try some pretty well-known New York City foods just one place. And I remember I ordered arepa de choclo, which is, I think it's corn with cheese, and it was excellent. So I'm hoping for the same kind of experience here in Brooklyn.
This is the one place I really wanted to go, so let's go. So the cheese on the inside has like a really unique texture right now. It's a little more solid, it's a little more dense, which really complements this, where like you really feel like you're getting a complete meal whenever you eat into this. So I'm loving that the cheese is very mild while the cake is a little more on the sweeter side. Like all in all, like this is something that I can just say, you know what, just shut it down. Like I'm good. You know, you guys can have the rest of the food. I'm just stealing all your arepas.
I mean, this is basically it on one fork. A cheese sandwich between corn dough. As good as I remember it in Queens, honestly. And this is gonna be pretty tough to top. I mean, it's a legendary place.
Oh, but we have so much more food to try.
We have so much more food to try too. This is downtown Brooklyn. This isn't the tourist hub that Chelsea is right next to the Highline, or Time Out New York Market is right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. Those markets always mobbed, especially when it's not COVID-19. You come here, I think you're gonna find the unexpected, a lot less people, and you can still get the same quality of food, and then you can explore downtown Brooklyn after as well.
And that's actually a really good point, because as you come straight off the Manhattan Bridge, you literally just keep walking straight down Flatbush Avenue. So if you want to tackle the Manhattan Bridge, which is something that as a local, I personally recommend, because again, it's really hard to see the Brooklyn Bridge when you're on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Now we're gonna try a spot called Pierogi Boys, and I was looking at the ratings online of most of the spots in here, and Pierogi Boys had some of the highest ratings in the entire market. Now, I've eaten at Veselka before. I've eaten at a little place called Streech in the East Village. I'm really picky about pierogies, so I'm excited to try this. Have you already eaten one while I was talking?
No, I was like,
no, go for it.
I was actually trying to get the meat out, and like honestly, like it literally punches you right in the face with the flavor. So like, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm gonna let you get in there.
All right, let me try. It's in your face, all right, wow.
In a good way.
In a good way, like very flavorful, and you get a lot of meat too. That's what I think is so good about these pierogies. You're just like stuffed with meat. I think I know what was weighing down my arms so much. It was all the meat that was inside of this.
So check out the dill that's on here, and when you bring your nose close to that, you get that whiff of like the meat and the dill and everything together. Like, let me tell you this, I don't care what anybody's wearing. If you wore a perfume that was like this, I wouldn't be single anymore. I'd just be ready to propose marriage to the first
notes,
person.
ladies. He's single.
So right now we have your traditional Jamaican beef patty, all right? It's absolutely perfect. So you're gonna have a really good time with this. Now, what you have on the outside is something called cocoa bread.
Okay, so you insisted that I get this with an extra bit of bread.
Yeah, so
why did you push me to get the cocoa bread on top? Not that I'm arguing, but
so the reason why is because growing up, I went to high school, and all of our people who were working in our cafeteria were always from the Caribbean. So I felt connected to my culture, and every time I got a beef patty and it didn't have the cocoa bread, they literally would yell at me. So once I started putting it on there, it's something that you just have to do. It's, in my opinion, a very mild bread, but it goes ahead and it actually fills out having the patty to make it more of a complete meal. Where like once you have a patty with some cocoa bread on it, you're gonna leave feeling like you're ready to tackle the day.
Or take a nap, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it is gonna be a little bit of a carbo overload, but trust me, carbo overloads are good in this situation.
What's carb overload?
Show it up. Show it up.
What's carb overload, guys? Check that out. Cocoa bread on top of a Jamaican beef patty. I've had beef patties before. Never had cocoa bread with it though.
Just get in there. Oh yeah, big bite.
Mmm. It sneaks up on you because you eat the bread first, then you get the salty flavor explosion of the beef patty.
And it's got a little bit of a kick on the back end. It's not an overwhelming heat. It's just like something that's just nice to complement the flavor.
This is excellent. Mmm. Last but certainly not least for a tasting is the mini donuts. We loved the owner of that spot. Evan, he's like your best friend now.
It was one where I had my credit card out and I was just ready to be like, you know what, I'll just take the entire stand. So like, now I'm curious to see what the normal varieties are like, just because if the alcohol was that good, let's see what he specializes in.
So I got the funnel cake, and I grew up in Jersey. This is a Jersey Shore specialty, so it got me excited. And what'd you get?
I got the Nutella s'more because, I mean, who doesn't love s'mores and who doesn't love Nutella? And then you put that on a donut. This sounds like heaven.
All right, let's do it. I could eat 100 of these things.
Yeah, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna go buy that stand up real quick.
I'm taking some to go. I'm taking some for Adriana. These are so, I just want to use the word perfect maybe, because you just take 2 bites, disappears. Just that beautiful sweet flavor.
This doesn't compare to it, but just to give your viewers, because I know they're from around the country and around the world, some frame of reference, it has the pillowy consistency of a Krispy Kreme with the flavor punch of your local donut shop, all in one small bite. Like this, to your point, is the absolute perfect donut, but the dough itself is flavored, the toppings are great. Like this is what you want when you start to have sweetness, where it's not overwhelmingly sweet, but it does leave you very satisfied.
And this, guys, is why he needs his own food channel. I couldn't say that. I'm just like, perfect.
Every other video, this reminds me of this food from the Philippines, right?
I know, right? But
this
one doesn't really remind me of anything. So
okay.
It's funny because it reminds me of a food in the Philippines. We call it empanada.
Everything reminds Ben of something from the Philippines, we know.
You should probably Google something like empanada.
So how big of a nap are you going to take after all this? Like, I don't think dinner's happening, and breakfast tomorrow is looking questionable too.
Well, frankly, I have a chicken marinating in the fridge right now that it has to get cooked tonight. So I don't really have much of a choice but to have dinner as well. So.
Today we're getting a first look at New York's hottest new attraction, the new wing of the Museum of Natural History, the Richard Gilder Center. The $456 million expansion is going to be the perfect spot for families, tourists, and anybody who wants to explore. Let's find out if this is worth visiting in 2023. The Gilder Center for Science, Innovation, and Education is opening today, and it's a 230,000 square foot building on the western side of the museum, adjacent to Central Park. Admission if you live in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, pay what you wish. $28 if you are not from the area. Highly recommend you pre-book the extras that we're going to show you later if you're interested in them. This is the Kenneth C. Griffin Exploration Atrium, and this is the crown jewel of the Gilder Center. It's what you see in all the photos. You get a ton of natural light in here because of the large-scale skylights, the texture, color, flowing forms of this atrium, all inspired by canyons in the southwestern United States, and you really get that vibe as you walk through. You know, how many museums can you think of that builds this kind of a seating area where you could just sit and marvel at this, at the canyon-looking elements? I love the skylights too. It's a really nice touch. And when you look from the outside, I don't know, I get this Gaudi-esque vibe for anyone who's ever been to any of his works in Barcelona. This is also going to be an extremely Instagrammable museum. All these little nooks and crannies you can find
to sit and hang out. I'm absolutely in love with the interior and exterior here. So the Davis Family Butterfly Vivarium, there is extra admission to this, and there's over 1,000 different free-flying butterflies all around here. Like they're everywhere, even up on the ceiling. And you literally can't avoid the butterflies here. They're all around you. They will even fly on top of you. I've never been to an indoor exhibit quite like this one before. They made this environment perfect for butterflies. It feels like it's 80 degrees and humid right now. You can see the trees even dripping water. If you're quick enough, you can even identify which butterfly is coming up to you. Over 80 species are out every single day. So this is a special type of water, you said?
No, just sugar water. Others you'll see with fruit in the bins. They arrive from Costa Rica. There's one a shipment just arrived from Ecuador. We unpack them and we hang them and the butterflies emerge here. Butterflies make a chrysalis and moths make a cocoon, which is the silky cover around their chrysalis.
You see almost every stage of the butterflies here because they were telling me that they're now in the stage right before they become adults. They let them hang here, and when they're ready, they actually pop out. Like this one here literally just popped out today. And I learned a sad fact. Butterfly adults don't live maximum past 6 or 7 months. I actually never knew. So come enjoy them during their, I would say, relatively short lifespan. Make sure you don't bring any hitchhikers. The Susan and Peter J. Solomon Insectarium, open to the public, no extra admission, and you can spot 18 species of live insects, honeypot ants, hissing cockroaches. If that's your thing, wait, I hear something. I hear something. Okay, if you're afraid of bees, you are gonna not enjoy this. This is what it's like to be inside of a beehive. Well, let's be a bee. All right, we can actually compose our own insect chorus. Day, night. All right, I wanna go back to my childhood, cicadas. It's like this is the sound of summer when you go to sleep at night. You even hear the New York City sirens. Oh, we can play them all at once. Literally as an orchestra. Oh, that's the worst sound, the mosquito. No thank you. Fun fact of the day, insects outnumber humans over 1 billion to 1. So the next time a mosquito bites you, just remember you are really outnumbered. You're gonna hear me saying this over and over during the video, but I think this is a great destination for families with children. If you are into insects, you are gonna love the Insectarium. If you're not, well, at least I think you'll learn a lot of cool facts. I'm so hungry right now. Look at all these options we got here. Chorizo chili, jalapeno lime cheddar chicken. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and I've worked with them in the past, so you know I'm already a fan. Having an infant at home for Adriana and I, sometimes what to eat for lunch or dinner is the last thing on our minds, and cooking with all the preparation and going grocery shopping or even going out to eat can just be so much work. And that's where Factor comes in. So if you're too busy to cook this May with Factor, skip that trip to the grocery store, skip the chopping, prepping, cleaning up. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals ready in just 2 minutes. All you have to do is heat, enjoy, then get back outside, enjoy that warm, fresh weather, or in my case, go back to filming. It's also a great way to help pad your budget. It is cheaper than takeout and faster than restaurant delivery. Remember, 2 minutes.
As a mom, I'll take anything that saves me time, and if it's delicious, it's even better.
Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use our promo code HEREBAR50 for 50% off your first Factor box. That's factor75.com, HEREBAR50 for 50% off your first Factor box. All right, this is gonna put the Van Gogh exhibits to shame. This is a 12-minute looping experience. Remember, this does cost extra. You gotta book it in advance. Feels like I'm about to walk into one of those observation decks right now.
The whole story is about how all life is connected, so enjoy.
How all life is connected. Wow. I am immersed in life. This is gonna keep changing, get ready.
All living things communicate.
The entire room is immersive here, everything. There is no bad seat in the house. Always exit through the gift shop. You know what? I think this is the future of attractions in the world. It's not just sitting in a movie theater. No, you are walking around, you are being immersed in whatever it is you're watching. And there you are immersed in a really good science show, which is totally worth the price of admission. You know, just as a piece of architecture, the Gilder Center is breathtaking. Really, really nice. It feels like I'm rock climbing in Utah. The research library on the 4th floor is open to the public, and they have more than 500,000 volumes and extensive collections of rare and unique natural science books, archives, photographs, moving images, art, a whole lot more. This is definitely a place that I can get behind. Need a little breather, a long day of sightseeing, sit here, enjoy the views. It almost has an Alice in Wonderland feel to this room. Because the museum has millions of different objects, 3,000 of them are actually available on different floors as part of the collections. So you can see things like dinosaur fossils, camera equipment, anything to do with natural earth, science, all over, all included in your cost of admission. I find it fascinating that you have scientists working here every day. They're even in the background doing stuff as you browse. They're working, bringing it to life for you. They are literally lining up. The museum this is opening up to the public in 18 minutes. I should just like circle in and be the first tourist to go. I want to remind everybody that there's a lot more to the Museum of Natural History than just the Gilder Center. You could spend the whole day roaming all the exhibits. I absolutely think this is worth it if you need to do just one museum for your whole trip and you have a family. This has got to be near the top of your list. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm so happy we got to explore it. What's up, members of the Barrio? It's John, coming to you from Pier 86 in Manhattan, and today we're going to be exploring one of the most famous sites in the entire city, the Intrepid Museum. This spot has airplanes, it has a space shuttle, even has a submarine. We're going to find out if it's worth visiting or not.
Hey guys, I'm Dylan. I'm an educator here at the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum, and we're going to take a nice tour of the complex today. There's plenty to see with John.
Now we've just stepped onto the ship, and this is very different than your typical museum in New York City. This is living history all around you. I'm such a big history person, so I'm so excited to start this tour.
So welcome on board, guys. We're currently right now on the ship on board the former USS Intrepid. The ship served the United States Navy for 31 years, from 1943 to 1974. And if you notice one thing when you step on board, it is that the ship is massive. So when we want to talk about features of the ship, we have to use models. We shrink the ship down and we can point things out. It served exclusively in the Pacific and then went on to have many, many years of service beyond that, doing many different things.
There are approximately 30 different planes all over the Intrepid, so if you're an aviation geek, you are going to be in heaven here.
Behind me is our Grumman Avenger. This is the only aircraft that we have in our collection that served during the Second World War. The Avenger was a torpedo bomber. The torpedo bombers generally occupy a kind of unique position in aviation history. During the Second World War is arguably the only time that they were actually effective in use against an enemy combatant. Beneath the Avenger, you can see the torpedo that it carried. It was almost 2,000 pounds, quite heavy. And in order to deliver that torpedo into the side of an enemy ship, the pilots had to have nerves of steel. They had to fly very low to the waterline. They were very close to the enemy who were going to be shooting at them. And they had to fly very precisely to accurately deliver the torpedo. But another morale booster that the men had was the scorecard that they painted onto the ship during World War II, showing the success that the pilots had against the enemy, as well as the gunners on board the ship protecting it from enemy aircraft.
How many museums give you this type of exercise? We are just going right up towards the deck, which is the most iconic part of the ship, because, well, you'll see. Is this actually how the Combat Information Center was set up in the 1940s?
To the best of our knowledge, we use photographs and things like that. The ship, when it was decommissioned in 1974, they took a lot of pieces out of it, obviously. So we try to recreate things, and some things were left in situ, as we say. But yes, this is what the Combat Information Center looked like for the men who worked on it when the ship was in service.
We made it to the deck. This is the most iconic, the most famous part of this ship. What can you say about it?
So yeah, this is the flight deck. This is what makes an aircraft carrier an aircraft carrier. This is the airport part of the ship. It's almost 900 feet long, and this is where we store the heart of our aircraft collection, which you can see all around you behind me. So this massive aircraft behind me is our F-14 Tomcat. If you're familiar with the movie Top Gun, this is the aircraft that they were flying in the movie. The F-14 was used by the Navy for almost 3 decades, from the late 70s into the early 2000s, and was really the workhorse of the fleet.
Another really neat fact about the Intrepid is up here, you don't just see planes used by the US. We have an Israeli warplane here used in the Yom Kippur War. I saw an Italian plane over there. It's just like a shrine to aviation. So if this is your thing, you're gonna love it here. I'm thoroughly enjoying this tour so far. Now, you mentioned how this is not just a museum, this is actually a living battlefield, and there were actually kamikaze planes that landed on this very deck we're standing on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was talking about the scorecard earlier. The sailors were, they wanted to see their contribution to the war effort because they were simultaneously watching their friends and their colleagues die when the ship was in combat. Intrepid was hit by a torpedo, was repaired, came back, and then over the course of the remainder of the war was hit by 4 separate kamikaze aircraft. On November 25th of 1944, the ship was hit by 2 planes within 10 minutes of each other, roughly in the vicinity that we're standing in right now. And this is the captain's chair. We can't sit in it, it's behind glass, we're protecting it. The captain sat here, the commanding officer of the vessel. He would have been a pilot at some point in his career, an experienced pilot in order to command an aircraft carrier, and he's very focused on air operations. When the aircraft are taking off, he sits here, he can see them taking off forward, and if he needs to see the landings, he can use the big rear view mirror that's to the left to watch them land. So I said at the very beginning that we're here at the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum. A lot of people don't make the automatic connection to space since we're on board an aircraft carrier that served during World War II. In 2012, as NASA was deciding where to put their retired space shuttles, we were lucky enough to receive Space Shuttle Enterprise. When it arrived here via barge, we craned it up to where we're about to see it, and we built the Space Shuttle Pavilion around it to exhibit it to you guys when you visit. So we see Enterprise here behind me. Enterprise is a prototype. That means that of the shuttle fleet, it is the only shuttle that did not go to space. In terms of size and scale and what we're looking at, it is almost identical to all of the other shuttles. It's missing a few of the key components that would have made it space-worthy. This includes the heat shield, the tiles that are so famous for protecting the shuttle when it re-enters the atmosphere. All of the infrastructure for the engines is not there. It's simulated by lead weights, and it's missing a lot of the critical components up here in the flight deck, the avionics for the shuttle. Enterprise paved the way for the space-worthy shuttles by proving the concept for the space shuttle program, and without it, who knows if any of the other shuttles would have ever gone to space.
This was actually in space with the Russians. It came down in 2005. It's a re-entry module. So unlike the Enterprise, which was, as he mentioned, just used for training and as a prototype, this was actually in space. Not only does the Intrepid have military and space history, but we're standing in front of the Concorde. We're going to show you some commercial airlines history.
Yes, there's only 18 Concordes around the world, and we are lucky enough to have Alpha Delta. This is the true workhorse of the Concorde fleet. Flew about 10,000 flights, and it holds the record for the fastest time across the Atlantic Ocean, making it from New York to London in 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 59 seconds.
By the way, guys, you must book a tour to get on the Concorde. You can't just come from the general public. Little note. So guys, this went out of commission in 2003, and as you can see, this would probably be like today's Economy Plus. I mean, this isn't a bed. You weren't paying for that kind of comfort. You were paying to go across the Atlantic as quickly as possible. So, no, a little footroom, not horrible. I think it's totally worth paying extra to come in here. Seriously, guys, if you like flying at all.
Hey everyone, so I mentioned before there's plenty to see here at the museum. Behind me is our submarine, the former USS Growler. The submarine served during the height of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union from 1958 to 1964, and its sole purpose was to carry nuclear weapons in case they had to ever use them. Thankfully that was not the case, and you can come and see this vital part of Cold War history here at the museum today.
All right guys, we are about to enter a Cold War nuclear submarine. You know, living inside a tiny Manhattan apartment, I don't feel so bad anymore. Look at these bunks here. So this kitchen area is really nice. You have checkerboards. Feels like we're back in the 1960s. I also like that we saw a Russian map in the navigation room. You know who they were looking for. This reminds me of some trains I've seen before, like double, triple decker sleeper trains in Europe. Today we're eating our way through New York City's newest food hall, the Hugh, with 15 restaurants and bars and cuisine from all over the world. It's just a 20-minute walk from Times Square. Is it worth visiting? Let's find out. All right, my first impressions are this is a museum that just happens to have a food hall. I absolutely love the calming aesthetic here. So many choices to work with. We're gonna do some Pakistani food to begin. Thank you. Because it's been such a cold winter, having all these amazing food options under one roof, it's like foodie heaven. I got 4 of their signature lamb chops, just coated with cumin, coriander, Pakistani spices, so you know this is gonna have quite a kick to it. I'm just salivating looking at this thing, guys. Oh, it smells so good too. You know, if you're into lamb chops with a little Pakistani flair, some spicy kick to it, you gotta try this. These are not your average lamb chops. This isn't something you normally order at a food market. This is something I would typically order at a higher end restaurant. I'm getting a kick out of this. We're off to a heck of a start. Oh.
Because of juices. Ooh. My mouth is watering already. Has so many flavors going on. I never had a burger like this. This is so good. The meat is so tender. I love everything about this burger, I swear.
It's so juicy, wow. Then you add the mint chutney to this. Like, it's definitely adding a lot of flavor and spice to a burger that I'm not really used to. I'm certainly happy about. This is what I love about food markets is everybody can be happy and you can try so many different places in one day. These are so good that I just want to eat them until all I've got left is bone. People are always asking me what's something you should do on a rainy day, and today it's rainy, it's cold, it's windy. I always say go to a food hall, and New York's got plenty of them.
Makbar is a Korean ramen shop, and we are known for our classic ramen and our kimchi ramen.
Soju highball cocktail. I mean, it's like 3 o'clock on a Friday. How could you say no to that? My mouth just continues to water the entire time we film this video. Look at these little bulgogi buns. Mozzarella cheese, caramelized kimchi jam. It already sold itself before I even took a bite, but here we go. It's so savory. Oh, just like a party in my mouth. They're doing things with bulgogi that I've never tried before. I'm usually pretty traditional with my Korean food taste, but this takes it up another level, no joke.
This is an explosion of flavors in your mouth. Like you get one flavor first, and you get the other, and then you get all together. The bun is super soft. I'm in love with this.
You pour the broth yourself for the ramen. That way you know the noodles aren't going to be soggy.
So delicious, so good.
Fun fact about Adriana, she's obsessed with Korean food.
When you're with a bunch of friends, sometimes it's hard for you to decide what you want to eat. Like some people want one thing, some people want other thing. It takes forever. If you come to a place like this, there's always an option for everyone.
This is like Lady and the Tramp, where we meet in the middle with our ramen instead of spaghetti.
Couples that eat ramen together stay together.
So this is basically food from Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana. So you have like a different combination of items with the rice. You have the stews, you have the black pea stew, and you also do have like salad bowls that you can mix with the rice. As protein, we do have chicken, we have regular grilled chicken, and we do have also chicken suya, which is like a little bit spicy.
First time ever in channel history, we are showcasing West African food. I've never even had West African food before. It's like a milky, sweet drink.
Baobab tree. Can live up to 100 years.
I'm being educated on food. I love this. Love it. West African salmon. It has a really tangy sauce on top, but I have to say that this is probably the healthiest thing that we're eating the entire day here, maybe one of your healthiest choices. They call it, African superfood because for one, it's a mixture from Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria, but also got your veggies, got your grains, black-eyed pea salad. There's nothing boring about this meal right here. Not only is it super healthy, but all the different flavors and spices is actually making me want to expand my horizons and travel a little bit more. Like medium maybe.
Give you the hot one. I want to see you cry.
Careful.
Be careful.
Like tiny bit.
I don't want you to look like your shirt.
Tiny.
Oh my god.
How you feeling, Adriana? You're nervous for me? Put a tiny amount of the hot sauce on. Am I gonna turn the color of my shirt? Ooh. Yeah, it's there. And they also have their original location in Harlem. And I was saying before about these spots is a lot of these markets, the original is somewhere else. And you can try a lot of really famous restaurants under one roof, like we're doing right now. Bring a couple friends to the market. Everybody gets a dish from a different country, put it on the table, and share it. Expand your horizons. Remember when I walked in, I said this looks like a museum that has a food hall? The School of Visual Arts actually has an art display on the second floor, and you can sit here and stare at this lovely fork and spoon display. This exhibit here is all stuff from 1977 and 1978. Donut's heavy. I got the old fashioned. This is a cake donut with vanilla on top. Whoa. You just took the top? Could you just show people what you did?
I love this so much. Everything in this market is so good. Cream inside.
Just when you thought it was an amazing donut, it just blew your mind with some cream inside, which you didn't even see. I haven't even tried mine yet.
Best donut ever.
Really? Best donut you've had in your entire life?
Mm-hmm.
I gotta try this. What I like about this donut is it doesn't have an intense amount of sugar. It's just right. I kind of wish I could just dunk this in a cup of coffee right now. That would have actually made this perfect. We visited just 4 of the 15 different spots, but the Hugh answers that problem in the Midtown area. You don't know where to eat. You want to try a lot of different stuff with your friends, your family. Stop by. You will not regret it. Today we're going to become the first YouTubers ever to visit every single New York City observation deck in one day and answer the question, which one is best for you? We've got One World Observatory, opened in 2015. Tickets start $43, and its claim to fame is it's in the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, 1,776 feet high at the top. You can get to floor 102, 1,268 feet above the city. Got our tickets on our phones, ready to rock. It's the best advice I can give you about any observation deck in New York City. Pre-buy your tickets. You're gonna be spending enough time in lines. this is, in my opinion, the coolest part about One World.
Welcome to One World Observatory.
We just saw the history of New York City in about 60 seconds as we went up. So what really makes One World unique is it is the only observatory that is completely indoors. So on a freezing cold day, this is probably where I would tell you to go. And you see the Statue of Liberty right there. You have an unobstructed view of the entire region from up here, 360 degrees. You also have the bragging rights of saying you are on the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. I'm so used to seeing the Brooklyn and the Manhattan bridges from street level that seeing it from up here actually is really, really cool. New York City, it looks like a Lego set from this vantage point. This is where everybody is grouped together, that straight line shot of Midtown Manhattan. And I can even see our next stop, the Edge, straight that way. You could plot out the entire video from up here. It's basically boom, 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 boom. Great view of New Jersey this way. And as someone who's from New Jersey, I understand most people are not looking here. For somebody that wants an entire lay of the land of New York City, there is no observation deck that's gonna be better than One World. On a personal note, it is not one of my favorites because I like to be outdoors for this sort of experience. But for people who are big into architecture and wanting to see everything, this is tough to beat. I'm pretty sure out in the distance there, we can even see Pennsylvania. Whoa.
Thank you for visiting One World Observatory.
We've got to hustle. We've got an 11 a.m. entry to the Edge. This is the only observation deck located inside of a mall. We're going to the most unaffordable neighborhood in the city, Hudson Yards. All right, take two. We walked into an office building next door. Even I make mistakes. We're in a rush. So apparently we weren't the only people with the smart idea of coming to the Edge on a beautiful December day. The Edge opened 2020, $38 for admission. You go to the 100th floor, you are 1,131 feet high, tallest outdoor observation deck in the Western Hemisphere. This whole line is like one big advertisement for Hudson Yards. We are outdoors for the first time in this observation deck challenge. You know, something that makes the Edge very unique is the angled glass, which I recall when I made my first video about this place, people said they were getting nervous looking at me even leaning on this. If you are afraid of heights, this is not the observation deck for you. You know, if you're afraid of heights, what are you doing on an observation deck anyway? I feel like there's an observation deck arms race right now, and last year Edge opened up something called City Climb, which we decided not to do because Ben is afraid of heights and I just didn't want to do it. $185, and you go 1,271 feet above the city. Actually, that is the highest outdoor perspective you can get in New York unless you're in a helicopter. So if you're someone that wants that photo and you want to spend about $200, go for it. I don't want to wait in an extra line, but there is a line to take a picture at the edge of the Edge. And we did it when this place first opened, if you want to see that perspective. But this is a very popular attraction, super popular. Expect long lines everywhere. All right, if any more people go on the glass floor here, I'm afraid it's gonna break. This is actually my favorite spot on all of the Edge. A little elevated to see Lower Manhattan. Now, just a note, Edge actually can close their outdoor Skydeck due to adverse weather conditions or if it's super windy. So worst case, you might just get this view, which isn't so bad, but just be warned about that. Maybe New York's most expensive glass of wine, $25 here. Little insider tip, 101st floor has an elevator with a much shorter line. 2 down, 3 more to go. Personal opinion, I think the Edge is great, but it is not one of my favorites. mostly because it's just so far away from the other buildings, and it's also a little bit on the smaller side, so you do feel kind of packed in, but it is peak tourist season, so some people love that outdoor observation deck with the angled glass. For me, not one of my favorites. Summit 1 Vanderbilt. This is the newest observation deck in New York City, opened last year. You get to the 92nd floor, 1,063 feet above the city. If you want to add the ascent elevator, you get 1,210 feet above the city, or the 101st floor. This is by far the most popular observation deck in New York City right now. This is the one you need to book at least a day or two in advance. We're officially starting something called the Observation Deck Challenge, 5 in 1 day. No, actually, I don't recommend you do this because we are spending probably as much time in line today as we are the observation decks. So this is just a little challenge to show you all the pros and cons of each observation deck. I do not recommend you do this. All right, we're starting our immersive experience at Summit. You'll see why you need these in a minute. Is it me or all of the observation decks have this dark tunnel thing going on?
This is a one-way experience. That means take your time on each level because you cannot go back down to previous levels.
I love this elevator. It's a little packed, but I like it.
Okay, everyone, right this way. Your journey starts here. I hope you enjoy.
After One World Observatory, that's my next favorite elevator ride with the mirrors everywhere, and you are just thrust into this experience. Putting on the shades. All right. Whew. It still trips me out to this day, this place. I love it though. We were here before it opened to the public, and I got a chance to talk with Kenzo Digital, who designed this, and he explained to me how the mirrors were supposed to be an experience where you transcend, and depending on what time of day you come and the weather conditions, it's always different. So if it's sunny, you're gonna get different reflections. If it's cloudy, if it's raining, if it's night, that was what he went for, and I think he hit an absolute home run here. It still trips me out to look down, and you see people down there, and then there's a second floor, they're up there, and there are reflections on the ceiling. While the majority of summits indoors, they have by far the best view of the Empire State Building and of Midtown Manhattan. I don't know if you get better views at any other observation deck than here, if that's what your goal is for photography, but it is gonna be against glass, keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Time to be an influencer. Is this how influencers pose? I don't know. I'm influencing you guys. Influencing you on not to do this in 1 day. So this room's called Reflect, and they changed the vibe. It's a lot cooler in here, temperature-wise. And this is an art piece by Kusama of cloud-like objects reflecting. A little breather till we go to what might be the coolest room in New York City. I don't know if this is being followed, but you know, a lot of people don't realize that if you go past the balloons, the view outside is not bad at all. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It was not me. This may be New York City's best bathroom view. Can you imagine how much this bathroom would rent for if it was on the open market with wraparound views like this? All right, so this is levitation. We did this when it first opened, and I think it's absolutely fantastic to have the option, you don't have to do it, of standing out over a ledge looking at the city. Now there is a bit of a line for it, but because we're on a tight timeline today, we can't wait in line for this.
Your face in the clouds in there.
Cool. That one? That's me? Yep, that's me. That's a good looking cloud right there. That's a very good looking cloud. So crazy as it sounds, I actually think the outside is the least interesting thing of Summit, and it's still an amazing view. For an extra $20, you can do the ascent elevator to get to the 101st floor. Now, after making my Summit video, I did get some of my viewers who didn't think it was worth the extra money. The reason we're not doing it today is because there is a wait time to board, and again, we are on a tight schedule to get in all 5 observation decks, but if it's something you want to do, we have footage of it, it's interesting, if you have a lot of time, you should consider adding it. Every single observation deck has its pros and cons. My personal favorite is Summit One Vanderbilt because it's completely immersive, and I don't think any other observation deck in the world could give you this experience. So if you're into immersive exhibits like this with amazing views, Summit will be my #1 choice. We've got 20 minutes till we have to be at Top of the Rock, and I thought of the perfect spot for a quick meal on the go. Royal Grill Halal. Some of my favorite street food in all of New York City. You can't go wrong here. Thank you, man. Much appreciated. True New York lunch right here. You can find a better value in New York for this much food for $9. Tough to top. Well, Top of the Rock just happens to be in the epicenter for tourism in New York during the holidays, right across the street from Radio City Music Hall. So this building opened in 1933. It was then called the RCA building, and Top of the Rock didn't open until 2005. $40 for admission, and it's actually the lowest observation deck in New York City. Floors 67, 69, and 70, getting you only 850 feet above the city. But don't let that fool you. They got a lot going on.
Welcome to Top of the Rock.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One thing Top of the Rock wins on, it has by far the best view of Central Park, any observation deck. Now, before Summit opened, Top of the Rock had the best view of the Empire State Building because you can't see the Empire State Building from the Empire State Building. Now Summit is nicer, but this is still really good. I feel like with the opening of Summit One Vanderbilt and the Edge, that Top of the Rock probably suffered the most because a lot of people know the Empire State Building, and then you have the newer ones that are maybe, I don't know, sexier. But this classic Art Deco building, I think this is probably the most underrated observation deck in New York City. We know Santa's favorite observation deck's Top of the Rock. This is a cool view. I can actually see the Times Square Ball from here. And we've got the Empire State Building. We've got One Vanderbilt, Chrysler Building. I can even see the Edge. This is a bird's eye view. This is nice. So the GE building here at 30 Rockefeller Plaza was designed to look like a 1930s ocean liner. And when you think about it, you really look up, like this is the mast of the ship and this is the top deck. Perfectly makes sense. Something unique about Top of the Rock is that because you're only on the 70th floor, you're not above all the other buildings. So the perspective's a little bit different. You know, you don't feel like you're looking down on people. You feel like you're with the buildings, you're part of it. I have to give the tourists visiting New York a lot of credit for their patience because we've seen nothing but lines today, and I know how stressful it is to travel, but everyone has been polite. I am very impressed. I think for my observation deck purists who want a nice building with a nice view, Top of the Rock checks a lot of boxes. So if you just want that outdoor view, you need to consider Top of the Rock highly. All right, we got one more to go, and it's a classic. I feel like when I wake up tomorrow for breakfast, I'm gonna expect there to be a line. So this is the Empire State Building, most famous building in New York City, probably the most famous building in the entire world. Admission, $47, although we got the $83 combo ticket to get to the 102nd and 86th floors. The 102nd floor is 1,250 feet above the city. This building is a classic. Just from the moment you step in, you feel it. If you were a fan of buildings, the Empire State Building, probably gonna be your favorite. So I wonder how many people in line today are here for their 5th observation deck. Just two? Just two? While waiting in line, I've learned there's 6,514 windows at the Empire State Building. Learning something new every day. Most famous building in the world, anybody? After you wait in all the lines here, there's a nice museum to stroll around. This is cool, this is a nice touch. There's a certain nostalgia that comes with visiting the Empire State Building, which you just can't get at any other building. The 80th floor is a sneak peek of what's to come. It has those big binoculars and then beautiful indoor view of Lower Manhattan. So I've never heard this offer before. They said 30-minute wait for the elevators or walk 6 floors up. Now, I lived on the 4th floor of an apartment in Greenwich Village for 10 years. This is not a problem. I think this walk cancels out all the cheap eats and fast food that we've eaten on this channel in the last couple of years. Whew. I see it. Wow. It's taken over 8 hours, but I see the finish line more or less.
She's your biggest fan.
You enjoying New York?
Yeah. We've watched all your stuff before we came here.
Which was your favorite?
The food places one.
Ah, what a perfect way to cap off reaching the destination, meeting a nice young viewer from the UK. And I feel like we walked miles and miles and through rain, snow, ice, desert, staircases to reach this. So this was the tallest building in the world for 40 years until the World Trade Center was built in 1970. This building's got history. The issue with the Empire State Building is because it's so iconic, it's so popular, and most people only get tickets for the 86th floor. So we're trying to jockey for positioning here at night, and it's tricky. I think this is the only observation deck that has outdoor heating. I have a lot of nostalgia for this building. I came here when I was in elementary school in New Jersey, so this is the first observation deck I ever went to. I will say though, I'm not such a big fan of the metal bars here. I prefer the plexiglass or just having like the straight on view, but it's a classic. There's something really peaceful about being at any of these observation decks. You're above the chaos of the city and you can see it a little bit, but you can't hear it. On the clearest of days, you have visibility of 5 US states, 80 miles, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, even Massachusetts. If you listen to a lot of area radio and TV stations, they always say broadcasting from atop the Empire State Building. This is one of the most powerful antennas in the United States. And the top of the Empire State Building changes colors depending on the holidays, depending on world events, USA, or if a sports team wins a championship, all sorts of different reasons. You can see it all through the tri-state region. We got one more surprise left. Thank you. After 8+ hours, we have reached the top. We have finished the challenge on the 102nd floor of the Empire State Building. It's an extra $36 to get up here, and this matches the highest we were with One World's 102nd floor view. So today in total, we have gone up 466 stories. I would say this is a smaller scale version of One World Observation Deck. It's narrower, but it's like the same circular view that you get, except you're in Midtown. I don't know if I would necessarily pay the extra $36 or so for this. Debatable. If it's the only observation deck you're visiting, maybe. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't. I like it. I just don't know if it's worth the extra money. Five observation decks in one day. Glad we did it. Never do it again.
What's up, members of the Barrio? It's John, coming to you from Coney Island, Brooklyn, which is by far the most famous summer destination in all of New York City. People have been coming to the amusement parks here since the late 19th century, and there is so much to do, from the food, to the rides, to the views of the ocean. We're gonna do it all today. Let's go. Team Adriana, it's your first trip to Coney Island. What are you most excited about?
The thing I'm most excited about is definitely food.
Which food in particular?
You told me that we were gonna try something really good, so I'm excited for that. I think it's the next stop.
Adriana's correct. Our first stop is going to be the original Nathan's hot dogs, built in 1916. It used to cost 10 cents for a hot dog. Yeah, inflation has made the price go up just a bit, but you know, we're gonna have a very famous New York classic. A hot dog today is $4.75. Yeah, the price has gone up a little bit, and the store is extremely
crowded. They don't really need my publicity. They're very famous without me. Normally I have a lot of patience, but the service was so slow in the original Nathan's that we're gonna go to the Nathan's on the boardwalk. I can't imagine the food is any different, so if you wanna take a photo at the original Nathan's, go and do that. Hopefully the line won't be so long like it was when we were there. So let's go to the other Nathan's in Coney Island on the boardwalk. All right, we get 4 hot dogs. So we have a bench next to the boardwalk facing the Atlantic Ocean, a nice view here. This Nathan's way faster on the service. It's about $15 a person, 2 hot dogs, splitting fries and a drink. Classic Nathan's hot dog. It's a hot dog. So we just finished up with Nathan's, which was okay. And now we're gonna do something that I've neglected to do in my almost 10 years in New York City. Ride Dino's Wonder Wheel. It is an old school Ferris wheel from the 1920s. And guys, I have been looking forward to this all day. Let's get up there. To ride the Wonder Wheel, you need to get a card. It is $10 per person to get up there. I'm gonna give a shout out to Jacob Carlson, my good friend and fellow New York City vlogger. I'm gonna put a card to his video about Coney Island. You have 2 choices. You can ride the Ferris wheel car that swings back and forth, or you can ride the wussy one. We're gonna ride the wuss one because we just ate, but if you wanna see what it's like to ride the swinging car, check out Jacob's video. All right, let's head up there. You like heights?
No much.
We're about to get pretty high up here.
Oh, God.
So I'm not someone that likes roller coasters at all, so this slow tortoise Ferris wheel is perfect for me. You get really amazing views from the top as well, just looking in both directions. More so to the water, I think. Now there's a man who enjoys his job.
Why don't you win me a prize? I love fruit.
Best husband ever. One of the big charms of Coney Island is the fact that you can take your family here. Let's say you're visiting New York and this amusement park is completely accessible by subway. So, if you want that family fun in the summer, Coney Island's gotta be near the top of your list, especially if your kids like roller coasters and all these games here. Behind me is the Cyclone, and for you roller coaster buffs, people really into history too, you've got to ride this thing. It was built in 1927, an old wooden coaster. The people riding it seem to be having a good time. As I mentioned, I am not into roller coasters or thrill rides at all, but if you are, you've got to try this. And tell me down below in the comments how much you liked it. All right, so Adriana's drowning in her hair, and we are going to explore the boardwalk right now. You know, it's not the biggest boardwalk in the world. I'd compare it to the Jersey Shore a bit. You know, you got all your usual things, food, drink, got the amusement park here, which we just showed you. I'm looking for something in particular, and if we find it, we're going to purchase it. Guys, I was looking everywhere for this. $3 for Italian ice. If you grew up in the New York, New Jersey area, you know exactly what this is. Just flavored ice, lots of sugar, $3. This brings me back to like being 8 years old. Guys, if you want to hear my personal favorite day in Coney Island, how I would do it, I would wait until the Brooklyn Cyclones are playing, which is one of 2 minor league teams in New York City. They're located right next to all the action on the boardwalk, so go to a day game and then come hang out on the boardwalk after, go on the Ferris wheel, do whatever it is you want to do. But for me, as a baseball fan, there is no better thing to do than catch a minor league game first if you come to Coney Island. They unfortunately are not playing until, I believe, late June into early September. We are on a pier right now, right over the beach, and I've been to all the major beaches in New York City. Coney Island is actually not on my list at all if you're just talking about coming to enjoy the beach and the water. I think it gets a little bit loud and rowdy. I much prefer going to Rockaway Beach in Queens. It's got a more mellow vibe if you just want to come for a beach day. I already did one vlog about it, and I might just go back this summer. So that's my honest opinion on the beach right here. It's a pass for me if you just want to come to go swimming. But if you want to enjoy some of the sights here, the amusement stuff, and all the history, that's a different story.
It's a really cool place that you want to take a picture. You can have a selfie with a really beautiful background. I really like here. I think it might be really beautiful at sunset, but right now it's too early, so I don't know.
While Bushwick, Brooklyn is really well known for their street art, we're about to show you a spot right by the boardwalk here in Coney Island that holds its own pretty well. We're in front of the Coney art walls, and for whatever unlucky reason, the inside is not open today, but their art is just mind-blowing. Some of those murals are absolutely incredible. Like, seriously, some of the best I've ever seen in New York City, and we could even peer through the gate. They have international artists who've come here and put their murals up. If you get a chance when you're in Coney Island, spend at least a couple of minutes walking through here, trust me. I've been waiting all winter to make this video. Today we're gonna be exploring Prospect Park in Brooklyn, a place that doesn't get the recognition it deserves. We're gonna show you exactly what to do here. So if you're tired of visiting Central Park, keep on watching. A quick history lesson. This was built in 1857 by the same architects of Central Park, Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux. At 525 acres, it's not even in the top 10 of New York City parks in space, but what it lacks in size, it more than makes up for in things to do and places to see. We're starting a tour at Grand Army Plaza, and the plaza is home to the Soldiers and Sailors Arch, statues commemorating Civil War generals. It also looks just like the Arch de Triomphe in Paris, France. Personally, I like it here as a meeting point, and it's just an amazing spot to walk and enter the park. You can see it clearly across the street. The Brooklyn Botanical Garden located behind me is technically part of the park, but because it's 52 acres and could take hours and hours to explore, we're gonna save it for its own video, but admission is $18 and the Japanese garden inside is incredible. Definitely something that you could save. You could pair this with a visit to the Brooklyn Museum, which is right next door and is one of the best museums in New York City that doesn't get enough attention. This is Long Meadow, and this is actually the spot of the park that I come to the most, living just 15 minutes away in Park Slope. And not to be confused with Sheep's Meadow in Central Park, although sheep did graze here in the early 20th century. As you can see, just come out here with some friends, family, have a picnic, relax. At approximately 1 mile in length, this is one of the longest uninterrupted stretches of public park in all of the United States. Well, this is definitely the most crowded I've seen the park in a really long time, which is a positive sign for, New York City reopening. This is actually the area where Adriana and I, well, mostly Adriana, made snowmen this winter during a snowstorm. It was epic. If you're not into walking or having a picnic, there's an excellent bike path that runs around the park here. As you can see, people staying to the right, you can get a city bike, bring your own bike, rent a bike. You can go jogging as well. A lot of opportunities for being active active here. Tip for you guys, if you want to have a picnic, set up relatively close to the picnic house. They have a relatively clean public bathroom, and in New York City, that's as good as gold. So whenever I picnic, I'm always somewhere around here. I'm so confused. Oh, you're filming this. Yeah, we're looking for the ravine right now. I've never been here before to some of these stops in this video, so trying to find this little forest, and actually proving more difficult than I thought, but have faith in Ben and I think. You can find waterfalls in Brooklyn, you just have to know where to look. Little known fact, the ravine is Brooklyn's only forest, and the architects of this park wanted this to feel like the Adirondacks. 300-400 feet away, you've got kids playing and people picnicking. Walking through here is a completely different experience. This is such an amazing escape from the city, and it's right here in Brooklyn, in Prospect Park. And it's actually my first time walking through here. I'm ashamed to say it, because I've been so close and I never actually just went a little bit further. But that's why we have this channel. It's like I'm getting deep now, I'm getting like philosophical with people. Do you want to go one step further? Hit the subscribe button. Are you filming again? Keep filming. Okay. No, this is cool, actually, just to kind of discover the park that's in my backyard here. And I'm mentally noting things for when I come back, just for fun. Oh, that looks nice. It's like a little log bridge. We weren't even planning on shooting this. We're gonna show you. The Boathouse, built in 1905. It's one of the most famous buildings in Prospect Park. It was actually modeled after a library in Venice, Italy. Inside, they have an Autobahn center with some wildlife exhibits. But the best thing here is just to come and walk around to see this lull water here, take some nice photos. And you're not gonna be fighting with tourists everywhere like in Central Park to get that right angle. There's so much space here. I just feel like this is one of the nicest stops in all of Prospect Park. The bridge here facing the Boathouse is one of the best Instagram spots that so many people never even think about. And there's like nobody here. I actually thought this was closed. The Prospect Park Carousel, super famous, built over a century ago by Charles Carmel. Originally, this was in Coney Island, and this kind of design for carousels spread throughout the rest of the United States. So this is just a classic thing you should do if you have kids and you're visiting Prospect Park. The Prospect Park Zoo, 12 acres, and there's over 800 different types of animals inside. I wasn't in the mood to go in. I'm not really a zoo person, but if you are, you have to pre-buy your ticket during COVID, $9.95 if you're 13 and up. And it's not a very big zoo, so you don't have to spend an entire day here. It could be a really cool option if you've got small kids. So check it out if you're interested. This may be one of the strangest trees in all of Brooklyn. It looks straight out of a fantasy novel. Camperdown elm, planted here in 1872. It's one of the few trees in the world that originated at the Earl of Camperdown's estate in Scotland, and the branches grow horizontally instead of upwards. It's pretty unique and definitely worth stopping by to take a picture of. Concert Grove Pavilion. This just reopened after being closed for the last 7 years and underwent a $2 million restoration. It was designed in 1874 by Calvert Vaux, one of the architects of Prospect Park. The pavilion features motifs found in Hindu, Chinese, Moorish, and Egyptian architecture. This is one of the best hidden gems in the entire park. Prospect Park, home to more corgis than people. True story. This is Prospect Park Lake, 55 acres large, and one of the best spots in New York City to go fishing. You can also head over to the LaFrac Center where you can rent kayaks, single paddle boats. This would be an incredible place to either picnic, or you want to have a pretty creative first date, get out on the water. What are you waiting for? The Prospect Park Peristyle feels like ancient Greece right in Brooklyn. This Renaissance revival colonnade held up by Corinthian columns. Professor Gopin, I was paying attention at Rutgers. And this is just a great spot to hang out. People are setting up an event here. Another one of those gems right in Prospect Park. Now that's a spot to have a party right here. I'm not gonna dance, I'm not gonna you want me to spin right now, do some crazy stuff. I know you do, Ben. Just...
I was waiting for the boogie or something.
Mission accomplished. There's so many great places to eat near Prospect Park. Eastwind Snack Shop we discovered when we filmed a Windsor Terrace neighborhood guide. Shout out to Michael Harron for introducing me to this spot. You know, these pork pan-fried dumplings are some of the best I've ever had in New York City. So completely worth a stop when you're at the bottom of Prospect Park. Better than a lot of places I've been to in Chinatown. All right, one bite, everybody knows the rules, right?
Actually,
Asian dad style.
There's really no other way to do it. Just gotta put it all in. Just gotta put it all in.
This is the Prospect Park Band Show, and you can't tell by looking at it right now, but there's actually space for up to 6,000 seats here. And this is where you usually can come in the summer to catch live shows, performances, concerts. I don't know what the story is gonna be like this summer, but it's just a good place to know exists if you want some live music here in Prospect Park. You're welcome. Still got it.
Next thing you know, a dog would be drowning and you're like...
Prospect Park Dog Beach. If you have a dog and you want it to swim, bring it here. If you don't have a dog and you just want to go to a spot that has a lot of dogs having fun, also a great option.
The Empire State Building, New York's most famous attraction, and today you're getting a VIP tour from the bottom to the top. We'll show you all the exhibits and viewpoints, then conclude with one of the nicest New York City sunsets you've ever seen. Let's explore one of the Big Apple's original tourist attractions.
Hey everyone, it's Jod, and when you ask any tourist visiting New York City what's the #1 attraction they want to visit, I'm betting the Empire State Building is near the top of this list, and I have not been here since I was a kid. This video is about 25 years overdue, the last observation deck I have not covered on this channel until today. Check out the list of the other observation decks in the description. Here we go. Temperature check, of course. Welcome to the lobby. The Empire State Building opened in 1931, and this lobby just exudes that Art Deco vibe. The ceiling, 24 karat gold, and so many movies and TV shows have been filmed right here. It's like stepping into history every time. We are taking a private tour around with the Empire State Building's PR team. We have a special guest, probably no surprise, Team Adriana joining us. What are your first impressions?
The building is so beautiful, and I'm really excited because, like you say, I've never been here. You were here when you were a kid, but I've never been here. It's my first time, so I'm super excited.
So this is the green room for the celeb visits. I don't think I qualify as a celebrity, but just to show you where the celebrities hang out when they visit here, this is it. So this is the lobby where you would enter as a tourist paying for tickets, and the prices are to access the 80th and 86th floor, $42. To access the 102nd floor observatory, $72. So keep those prices in mind. We're gonna show you all of the access that you can get for both prices today.
You can see people, like she said.
Yeah, you can see the little shadows hanging out. During normal times, there would be a huge queue right now to get to the elevators to get to the top, but it's COVID, a lot less people visiting. If you're a New Yorker and you've never come to the Empire State Building, well, I mean, look around you. This would be the moment to do it if you don't like lines and you still, you want an incredible sunset view. This is one of the first stops on your Empire State Building tour, the 2nd floor, and the museum here shows the evolution of this building. I mean, you can see exactly how it's built. I highly recommend stopping, taking some photos, and really admiring the story of this building, because it's really unique. Guys, the old working elevator here. Check this out. I don't know if I would trust this right now, but... So The Empire State Building has been the setting for many movies, most famously King Kong, and this exhibit, well, it shows it off pretty well. He's watching you.
He's watching you behind you.
All right, guys, you need to look up as soon as the elevator starts. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Welcome to the world's most famous building, and you get to see it built. Keep your arms and legs inside and keep your eyes open. See those hot rivets fly through the air? Nice catch, Lou! Get those planks out of the way, huh?
Walking onto the 80th floor now. This was opened in 2019. This is one of those new things I was talking about that didn't even exist when I came here as a kid. You could see some of the other observatories from here. The Edge right there. This visibility is absolutely incredible right now. I think we're very fortunate with the way that the sun is setting today. We can see One World, the Verrazano Bridge, all the way even to New Jersey and Staten Island. We lucked out, I'm telling you today. We really lucked out. Guys, we're skipping the 86th floor because we're coming back here for sunset. So we're going to go to the 102nd floor before. We're going out of order, but it's intentional, trust me. Ho, 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 ho. Wow. New York. I feel like a kid again, like I was 8 years old visiting. I'll admit I'm more excited about going outside because I prefer the outdoor observation decks. But this here, I mean, this is impressive. For being indoors and being pretty small, I actually think in some ways it rivals One World because One World is so expansive, but here you just feel like you're so close to the windows.
You can see the ice skating from here. You can see people, like little people, moving around.
Yeah, they look like little toy ice skaters from here. It's ridiculous. Even though this is new, this is still a classic view that people have been enjoying since the early 1930s. I mean, this building was the tallest building in the world for almost 40 years. If you like history, the Empire State Building is definitely for you. All right, we've made it to the 86th floor for the triumphant sunset coming up in about 20 minutes. This is gonna be very memorable. This could turn into the nicest sunset I've ever seen in New York City. I've got a feeling, I'm betting on it. Even with the crazy times, people are still up here for sunset. They're lining up. There is space though. I can't even imagine what it would be like to try to get that $1 million sunset shot during normal times. But tonight, perfect opportunity. I mean, I can't wait to see what this is gonna bring. The city is so peaceful from up here. I think I could stay in this same position for 30 minutes and not move and just admire New York from up top. You know, living here long enough, sometimes you take this for granted. You take the grand scope of things for granted. Like, I'm definitely not trying to take this moment for granted right now. If you're a fan of the views up here and you want to support this local New York City artist, Adriana, right here, she's got some Empire State Building prints that would fit perfectly on your wall on her Etsy store. Putting a link down below. You need to check these out, trust me. And for a limited time, 20% off with code Adriana.
Yeah, go check it out, guys.
Really cool fact I just learned, on the clearest of clear days, you can see 6 states from up here: Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and even Delaware. Wow. I mean, today's not the day, but just something to be aware of. We have bird's eye view of the northeastern United States here. At the top of the hour, every hour after sunset, the top of the Empire State Building sparkles white, and you can see it from the entire city if you're looking up. This is why you have to come at sunset, because you get so many different types of light that it's a different experience. Every time I circle around, it just gets nicer and nicer. Now it's almost completely dark. There's a little purple in the sky. Whenever you visit a new place, there's always certain attractions that everybody says you have to go to. Today we'll take a look at New York's most famous tourist activities and see if they're overrated or not. You don't want to miss it. Since this topic is so debatable, I need another New York City YouTuber. We have Sarah Funk, who also gives tours, the perfect co-host.
Hey John, I'm ready to get going. Let's do this.
Let's rock. We call something overrated. It doesn't mean it's a bad attraction. We just think it's a little overhyped.
Totally agree.
So we'll start with maybe the most famous attraction in New York City, the Empire State Building. And it pains me to say this, but I think it's overrated. Now, if you are a fan of buildings, Art Deco style was the tallest building in the world for many years. I think it's great. But if you're a fan of just pure observation decks, I think that the bars on the actual observation deck make it a little bit difficult to see things versus some of the other observation decks. What do you think?
Listen, I sadly agree with you on this, but I do have a thing to say about it. I would say it's not the best view in the city. Why? Because that iconic view of New York has the Empire State Building in it. And what happens if you're in the Empire State Building, John?
You can't see the Empire State Building.
Correct, that's the problem there. But the interior, they have a really cool exhibit. I like that about it, but I would say overall overrated. But if you're strictly there for the view, I would say go to another observation deck.
I'd say for just a pure observation deck experience, I'd say Top of the Rock for views.
100% agree on that.
This is one that a lot of tourists even tend to agree with me on. Times Square, I think it's totally overrated. I think it's worth visiting once in your life. I mean, I go a few times a year because of filming or going to Broadway shows. It's absolutely overcrowded. Every scam in New York City's hub is Times Square. I know it's iconic and you should go, but I think it is completely overrated.
Listen, I'm gonna say something scandalous right now.
All right.
And I think it's not overrated. Okay, I know that's crazy, but here's why. There's nowhere else on the planet like Times Square. Nowhere, okay? Times Square is totally one of a kind, a commercial disaster explosion.
Well, what about Tokyo? Similar.
I haven't been there, so it doesn't count.
Okay, it doesn't count.
You can't come to New York and not do Times Square, John.
I didn't tell him not to go, I just said it was overrated.
You can't, yes, but it's part of the reason why I say it's not overrated, because I feel like you gotta go there once to get the photo.
Fair. Statue of Liberty, I'm gonna say not overrated if you go inside the Crown, which is one of the coolest things I have ever done in New York City for $24, the same price as going to the pedestal. Look, I understand you can see the Statue of Liberty from the Staten Island Ferry, from all the boat cruises, but going inside the Crown, no, definitely not overrated.
That's really cool, and I've never done that, but I actually do consider the Statue of Liberty overrated, which it pains me to say a bit, because in a way it is an icon of New York. It's what notified those immigrants that came over from all over the world that they're in New York City. It welcomed them. But I've never been to the Crown, and unless you're going to the Crown, maybe, I don't know, I don't think it's worth it. Why? Because exactly the point you made, which is you can see it beautifully from a boat. I do recommend Classic Harbor Line. It's a much more luxurious experience and only slightly more expensive than those super packed boats that you see on the harbor. On the other hand, most visits to the Statue of Liberty include Ellis Island, which I think is an amazing experience. Actually, you can find where you're past it.
I think it's not overrated also because it includes Ellis Island. Like, I wouldn't tell someone just go to Ellis Island. I would say stop at the statue.
Yeah.
But I understand your point. You could just see it. Depends what kind of tourist you are.
Yeah.
But do the Crown. Do the Crown. Book it a month or two in advance.
Just a month? That's good.
You've heard longer.
I mean, I tried to book it a while ago and they were like 6 months.
No, now it's not so bad.
Okay. I haven't been, so listen to John with that one. What's the next one?
Madame Tussauds. This one, I think, is the easiest in the video to call overrated. Maybe, just maybe, if there was only one Madame Tussauds in the entire world, I would change my opinion. But the fact is, there's 30 of them. It is on every single New York City attraction pass, so it's always super mobbed. And I feel like there's tourists that go there that they'll never take the New York City subway, but they'll just check out the replica. You'll see replicas of New York in there. You should be outside actually experiencing things. It's not LA. We're not a celebrity-driven city.
I agree, 100% overrated. Why? Similar reasons to John. Really, there's no point in going there. It's all over the world. My theory is, if you're coming to New York, you should do things in New York City that you can't do anywhere else, and you can do Madame Tussauds in like a gazillion places. So skip it and save your money. It's not
The Brooklyn Bridge. This is a New York City icon. This one pains me but I'm gonna say it's overrated. I'm gonna say it's overrated, not for the reasons you may think. I mean, it's an architectural wonder. It was the longest suspension bridge in the world. I'm calling it overrated for two reasons. One, it is always super crowded unless you go at dawn or, I don't know, at night later on. And the second reason is because you can't see the Brooklyn Bridge from the Brooklyn Bridge, but I actually love the Manhattan Bridge walk where you can stare at the Brooklyn Bridge. I think you should do it. I just think it's a bit overhyped.
All right, I'm about to possibly blow your mind here, John. I disagree. I do not think it's overrated, and here's why. Yes, it is crazy crowded, but there's a way to do it now that they just opened that's not crazy crowded. Right. They just opened a bike lane underneath and there's like no one on that. So you can actually cross it now in peace without a gazillion people like in your face, and it's a great experience. The other thing I think is nice about the Brooklyn Bridge is it's a classic view of the city. Yeah. You don't have to be on it to appreciate it. Is that what your point is? You have to be on it? Is that the
my point is doing that Brooklyn Bridge walk that everybody does.
A classic walk.
I think it can be overrated. Just the walk, not taking a picture next to it.
Okay. I think you can do it as on the bike. I would say do it on the bike, don't walk it.
That's
I agree.
a great point. I didn't even think about that.
They just opened the bike lane.
Okay.
So originally the bike lane was where all the walking was, and it was absolute chaos and hell.
If you're watching this video and you're visiting New York for the first time, check out my Thatch guides, linked down below. We have everything from itineraries, where to eat, where to go, a big help, linked down below in the description. Central Park.
Oh.
I'm gonna say not overrated, even though I've lived in Brooklyn the last 3 years and everyone says Prospect Park is better. Everyone says it was Olmsted's masterpiece after designing Central Park, but guess what? No parks have that kind of cityscape view and are that iconic and are that big to have so many things going on. I know it's super touristy. You can find little pockets in the park that are peaceful, so many adventures to be had, near some of the best museums in the city. Not overrated.
I completely agree. Absolutely not overrated. And whoever said Prospect Park is better is insane to me.
Brooklyn people have told me that.
That's, what? They just say that because they love Brooklyn. And I'm all about that loving your borough thing, but saying it's Olmsted's masterpiece, in many ways, Central Park is a masterpiece in itself. It was actually designed to look like the great paintings in Europe, and that's why when you take a picture there, it literally looks like you're in a fairyland.
Oh, totally.
It's absolutely worth it.
The Met. I am gonna 100% say it is not overrated. It is one of the most expensive museums in the city at $30 unless you're a New York resident, but they have works of art in there that you cannot find anywhere else in the world. It is one of the best attractions in the city that you could spend an entire day and not even scratch the surface of. I have met very few people that have ever went to the Met and said they had a bad experience.
100% agree, absolutely not overrated. It is the best art museum in the city by far. And in fact, in the video you popped up in recently about New York in 2023, I talk about how they're going to have two of Van Gogh's most famous pieces on display together in the Met Museum this year. So they're always doing new things. They also have the fabulous Met Gala, hello. I mean, listen, that's just a situation, a moment in itself.
And the rooftop bar has some amazing views of Central Park.
It does. Yeah, I think it's the best views of Central Park from above that you can really get. There's no rooftop bars that really show it like that, except for the Met. The drinks are overpriced and not worth the money.
That's overrated. The drinks on the rooftop of the Met is what's overrated.
But did you know you don't actually have to get a drink there? You can just go up there.
Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. I'm going to say overrated because, for one, it is super crowded almost the entire time that it's up. And two, I don't even think it's the best Christmas tree in the city. I've liked the Lotte Palace's tree better on certain years. I feel like the Rockefeller tree, it looks the same every single year and it's just packed with first-time tourists. So I think you should see it from afar, but I don't think you need to spend too much time elbowing your way in just to get that one good picture.
I agree, it's overrated. It's just too crazy. It's absolute chaos there. It's not worth it. But if you're gonna go there, stop by real quick, see the tree from afar and see the Saks Fifth Avenue light show, and then get out of there. It is absolute chaos though. Crowds beyond anything I've ever seen in the city.
The Highline, I'm going to say not overrated. For one, it's free. It's also one of the most touristy things in New York that I actually enjoy doing over and over again when I'm actually in the area. I mean, you have art displays up there, you're above the city, you feel like you can spy down on people. It has a good history. It used to be railroad tracks. I love how they converted it. I like where it starts. Over in the meatpacking district, walk the whole thing, bam, you're at the Vessel, you're at Hudson Yards, so it's the perfect trek for a tourist. I'm a fan.
I also agree, it's totally not overrated. The best time to do it is in the spring when all the flowers are blooming. It does tend to get crowded, so I would recommend doing it right when they open or right before they close, actually. Right before they close, a lot of people aren't there every time I've gone.
What time, like 6, 7?
Their hours of closing changes depend on when the sun sets.
Okay.
So you want to go, like, in my opinion, right before they close or right when they open.
And you could stop at Chelsea Market, let's talk, is #1. I know you're a fan,
yes,
right?
Yes, big fan. Which used to be the Nabisco factory, which is where they made Oreos, which I'm also a huge fan of.
Fun fact, I grew up in Fairlawn, New Jersey, home to the Nabisco factory. Driving on the highway, I would smell the cookies. Could you imagine starting your New York City trip like this?
Today, we're going to tour New York's new $1.6 billion train hall across the street from Penn Station in Midtown Manhattan. We'll show you all the cool features and even some hidden artwork. Is Moynihan Train Hall worth visiting? Let's find out.
Members of the barrio, I am so excited to give you all a first look at Moynihan Train Hall, which just opened on January 1st. And for anybody who ever had to spend time across the street at the current Penn Station, this is like a breath of fresh air. They started construction on this in 2017. It's inside the old Farley Post Office building. I am just super pumped to check something new out in New York City this year. Let's get inside. Well, you can clearly see it's still very much under construction, and in this direction, it is still a post office. But that's probably not why you decided to come here. You gotta go this way. This was named after former US Senator to New York, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who championed the cause of this train hall, and everything you see past here is just brand new. So the crown jewel of this train hall is the light-filled atrium, and let's take a first look at this. Wow. This is impressive, I have to say. You can see the clock in the center of the atrium, and you can just imagine how many people are going to be using this as a meeting point in the next 50 years. Also, this used to be the mail sorting room for the Farley Post Office, so you can imagine people were up here watching to make sure that the mail was being sorted properly. So this is our first time on the ground floor here. The very first thing I see is a Starbucks. We're going to ignore that and look this way. Now that the sun is out, we can really appreciate the 92-foot high glass skylight, and this is what's going to be the big tourist attraction here, and it's already turning a lot of heads behind me. Everybody's stopping and looking up. A lot of people don't realize this, but this station was modeled after the original Penn Station, which was located across the street and was demolished in 1963. They wanted to bring back that grandeur, that old school feel of using a public space and having it be open, inviting, welcoming. One of the big critiques of this train hall is that there's not any public seating on the concourse here. The only people that can sit are Amtrak customers, and I'll show you it right here. These are really nice. This is, that classic Art Deco style. So if you're taking a train to Boston, you're gonna sit here in style. If you just wanna come and hang out, you've got nowhere to sit, at least for now. I just wanted to quickly show you guys what the tracks look like. Not bad. So this is where you would come down to take your train back to Washington, D.C. Could you imagine starting your New York City trip like this? feel like a tourist for a second. That was cool. That was very cool. That was my favorite thing we've done so far today. That was fun, right? You want to do it again, Ben? If you're curious who's actually going to be using this outside of tourists who want to take photos, which it seems like everybody here is taking a picture. If you're taking LIRR or Amtrak, let's say you're going to DC, Boston, Chicago from here, this is going to be the new hub. Unfortunately, New Jersey gets a short end of the stick again. They're across the street at the current Penn Station. Sorry, Jersey friends and family, but... What may be the neatest part of this train haul I'm about to show you, there's two pieces of artwork that are hidden unless you look up. You have to know where to look. We're gonna show you both of them right now. You guys still don't see where this artwork is, and you wouldn't see unless you turned your head up right now. This artwork is called Go by Kehinde Wiley, and it shows breakdancers on top of the ceiling. It's almost like the Sistine Chapel look, and I think he's an amazing artist, and this is my favorite art piece in all of Moynihan Train Hall. I think a big fear of a lot of people was that Moynihan Train Hall was going to turn into a shopping center, like let's say the Oculus right now, all the shops in there, it's a mall. That's not the case. There is going to be a food hall, but I think the primary reason most people are going to come here, outside of taking pictures, is to take one of the trains. I want to let you in on a really cool offer. If you join our Patreon, for the month of January only, I'm going to send you one of Adriana's New York City digital calendars absolutely for free, 12 different months. Put it on your computer lock screen, put it on your computer's desktop background. Our Patreon has a lot of very cool perks for joining. Link down below in the description. Thank you so much, guys. Behind me, where everybody's taking photos, we're looking up at the Hive by Elm Green and Drag Set. It's basically a city skyline backwards. Very cool. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of Instagrammers here for sure. I wasn't planning on including this, but Ben, the camera guy, has to go to the bathroom, so he's gonna give us an insider report on if this bathroom is nice or not. All right, Ben, report on the bathroom.
It was really good. It was super clean, and it's very modern, and you can use the footage where I was washing my hands. It's kind of cool.
Okay. I have to say, after spending about 30 minutes inside of there, I don't miss the current Penn Station across the street at all. But again, if you are taking the train to New Jersey, you're still gonna have to deal with it, and you're gonna have to take the subways inside of there as well. They do connect. Couple random points for you guys. One, comparing this to Grand Central Terminal. Call me a traditionalist, but I still like Grand Central Terminal more. But tell me in the comments if you disagree with me. I'm curious. Also, you know who the biggest tenant of this building is going to be shortly? Facebook. And Governor Cuomo has said that eventually he wants to redevelop Midtown West, this area in particular, and have the Highline connect to here one day.
Going to a Yankee game is as much about what you see on the field as it is your experience off of it. Today, we'll take you through the ultimate game day at Yankee Stadium, from tours, concessions, and more, so you're prepared for your first or next game here. Let's go. How to get to Yankee Stadium: you can take the New York City subway, the 4 or the B train. The D train on weekends to 161st Street, Yankee Stadium. It's your cheapest option at $275. My top pick for tourists, first-time visitors to the city, I say take the Metro North train from Grand Central Station in Midtown. Stops at Yankee Stadium in only 15 minutes. Now, if you do want to drive, parking garages are available. The closer you are to the stadium, the more expensive it'll be. $40 right next to it, $30, $25 further away you go. The new Yankee Stadium, as we'll call it, opened in 2009. The original Yankee Stadium across the street, there's a little piece of it still remaining that they left. It is now a field for kids.
Some advice on purchasing tickets. You can go through Ticketmaster.com, that is directly through the Yankees, or you can check out StubHub, which is one of their partners, if you want an even cheaper price for certain games that aren't as popular. For example, tonight against the Orioles on StubHub, I saw prices like $15, even $20, and many times you can wait till right before the game, maybe 15, 20 minutes before, and get a really good deal on StubHub. Ticket goes directly to your phone. I've got my friend Brent with me, super Yankee fan, been to hundreds of games at the new stadium. He's our insider for today's video. And when you enter, what gate would be the fastest for most fans?
I wouldn't recommend gate 6. This is where most of the fans are going to be entering in. I would recommend gate 8, bleachers, gate 4, or even gate 2, which is a little bit further off the beaten path.
I want to thank the Yankees for providing us this in-depth experience you're about to see. We're starting with a stadium hands-on tour. Now, you can purchase this for select games for the cost of $144. And there's a less expensive version of this tour called the Classic History Tour for $35. But for the ultimate fan, what you're about to see, I think is worth the money. Let's go.
Now, this in front of us is the Yankees dugout down the first base line here. Visitors on the third base side. It is real grass out there, Kentucky bluegrass. They grow it in New Jersey though, you can do that. It doesn't have to come from Kentucky.
It's weird to say, but smelling the grass is not something that I normally am used to living in the city. Actually smelling grass is fantastic, and being able to see the players not only from the Yankees but the opposing team as well.
Welcome here to Monument Park, where we celebrate the past and those that made this team what it is today. Monument Park will open when the gates open to the general public, but they will close the door up there 45 minutes before the first pitch. During a game, you can't have anybody walking around here. It might be a distraction of the batter. You come visit Monument Park, but the best way to do it, taking a tour.
Taking a tour.
It's like we're doing. We got the Yankees retired numbers. Lou Gehrig's number 4 was the first number retired in Major League Baseball, and it goes down and around. The actual monuments of Monument Park are in the middle.
Derek Jeter was always my favorite growing up. Paul O'Neill was definitely up there as well, so I gravitated to this spot right here.
Now we have a beautiful memorial dedicated to the New York police, firemen, and first responders. This is a monument, of course, not a player, but something very important, always going to be remembered here.
So I'm rubbing Derek Jeter's plaque. Ball just went in the second row.
Oh my God.
Should we go? Got it. Woo! My 9-year-old self would be going crazy right now. But my 38-year-old self thinks this is cool too. Remember, if you book one of these tours, classic or this one, book it during batting practice so you have the opportunity to fetch a ball just like that.
This is the New York Yankees Museum presented by Bank of America, and this is open to all ticket-holding guests at New York Yankees home games. The museum opens from 90 minutes before first pitch, and it closes at the end of the 8th inning. This is a uniform that Babe Ruth wore in 1934 after the regular season ended on an American League All-Star tour of Japan.
I got a question. What do you think this would cost, like open market auction?
More money than I'll ever have, I know that for sure.
Just checking, just curious.
And you can actually see the name B. Ruth.
Wow.
Chain stitched inside the collar. That's how uniforms were identified in those days. The name would be chain stitched. Your hands are where Babe Ruth's hands were 90 years ago.
Forget the home run balls. Come for this.
That's right.
I honestly wish every museum in the world was like this. If you were a Yankees fan, this place is like a playground.
I've got another treat here for you. This is Aaron's bat. He used this bat in 2019, 4 years ago.
Let you hold Aaron Judge's bat. Wow.
Now, could you read the name? It's in cursive here. It's actually stamped into the barrel.
George Babe Ruth.
The man, the myth, the legend. This is Babe Ruth's bat. It's from 1922, when Babe Ruth was the most famous athlete, really not just in America, but in the entire world.
I feel like I'm about to shake
Isn't
right
that
now.
magic?
This is Babe Ruth's bat. It is so heavy.
This is so heavy, it feels like it's about to break my wrist. 45 ounces, wow.
Now around the rest of the museum, we have the ball wall, which is the first thing you kind of saw when we came in here. And this is the actual distance of a major league pitcher's mound going to home plate, 60 feet, 6 inches long. People can look around. We have game-used jerseys, hats, bats, gloves, cleats. There's original ticket stubs. The first year the Yankees won the World Series, 1923, you'll notice that it's a gold pocket watch. Those rings just get bigger and bigger and bigger and shinier, and I don't think the players are going to complain about it.
Yeah. We are starting with the 99 burger, which they only sell 99 per game, named after Aaron Judge. There's already a line of what looks like more than 99 people, but they're gonna give us special access here to show you. Oh, that smell. Oh my God, it smells so good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. By the way, they updated us. Now they sell 199 of these a game because they're just too popular. Now, if you're wondering what is in this 99 burger, Aaron Judge, number 99, he is from California. It is a California smash burger. We've got 2 4-ounce American Wagyu beef patties, American cheese, caramelized onions, secret sauce, brioche bun, dill pickles, lettuce and tomato, extra upon request, but you really don't need it. And this thing is like the size of Aaron Judge, right?
Yeah, it is definitely a burger fit for the captain.
That's a lot of meat and a lot of secret sauce.
Just these charred off pieces gives it a delicious bite. Wow.
You always know it's going to be fresh because they're selling them non-stop. These things don't wait. They generally sell out, I'm thinking, within the first hour.
There are so many flavors going on. Like the first flavor hits you, they're like, oh, and then the second one hits you, and then the third one hits you, and then all of them combined is so delicious.
And let's look back at Brent. He's trying to eat this thing in 99 seconds.
I mean, I just can't stop eating it.
So, Brent, you insisted on the labels. Now, they have their main location on the Upper East Side, and they have this Yankee Stadium outpost, which you're just crazy about, right?
Yes, their steak sandwich. And the second thing that they do sell is also their steak top fries. The meat comes in at medium rare. I get steak fries every single time I'm here at the stadium.
That's just so gluttonous, my God.
The meat is tender, the fries are cooked the way you want them, and the queso, a little spicy, I'll be honest, but I think it makes it all complete.
2 people could down this. I don't think one person even has to do this one, but you said you were dreaming of this sandwich all day, right?
Oh, absolutely. Here we go. Just like the fries, the meat is super tender, super juicy. As a steak fry guy myself, I'm a bigger fan of the fries, but you can't go wrong with either.
We have a lot of Yankee shakes here. This is the Pinstripe Vanilla Shake. This is a good one for couples.
I'm thinking Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m., 80-degree day, out in the sun, this is going to hit the spot.
If you just walk into the game, it's about to start, you need to look up before you go to your seats. Why?
At Gate 6, you get into what is called the Great Hall, which is a massive hall full of former Yankees. You have a celebration of one of the World Series championships over here as well. And it's just a beautiful way to just enter into the stadium.
All right, something very iconic to Yankee Stadium for many years is the roll call on the top of the first inning.
After the first pitch is thrown, the bleacher creatures shout out, center, left, right, first, second, shortstop, and third. Players respond back as a good fan-player participation.
You know, at one point, it got so bad in the bleachers that they banned alcohol, right?
So allegedly in 2000, the Yankees banned alcohol in the bleachers. You have bleacher creatures coming in with what they call loosies, little small bottles of liquor in their socks, and other places I don't even want to talk about. But back in 2009 with the new stadium, the stadium is now open for everybody, so every section can enjoy beer.
But if it's your first time going to a Yankees game, sitting in the bleachers is one of a kind.
I will definitely say so.
So I want to thank the Yankees for inviting us and putting us in section 122. These are very expensive field MVP seats. Now, Brent, we were talking about this. It's your first time coming to a Yankees game. It's like, where would you tell someone to sit?
So first off, if you really want to get the best view of everything that's going on, I would definitely shoot in the 300s, 400s, right behind home plate, bleachers, especially the right field bleachers. If you want to get that party vibe, you want to get that rowdy vibe.
I think sitting behind home plate, be at the upper level. I was a baseball broadcaster for a couple of years. It's like what they see up there. What I try to discourage you from doing for your first game is sitting upper deck in the outfield. If you don't know baseball well, you might zone out. A lot of people think that baseball is a super slow, boring game, and they may still think that. We disagree. But now there's a pitch clock. Things have changed.
Yeah, so the pitch clock is shaved off up to 30 minutes on average of every baseball game, which is now under 3 hours for the first time in about 7 years. And then all of us that were here thinking that was going to be a homer.
We got teased.
Yeah.
Now we must show you the value chicken bucket. A lot of Yankee fans have said like this is one of the best deals for a group of 3 or 4 friends, right?
Yeah, or as the people affectionately on Twitter call it, chicken bucket! You have 8 chicken tenders with a pound of fries that comes in for $25. Best value in the stadium by far.
You know what? I see why Twitter's buzzing about this.
Again, great value.
I feel full just looking at this thing. That's all I have to say.
The Yankees have free Wi-Fi that you're able to connect to.
Really useful point I didn't even think about.
In Europe and a lot of other soccer stadiums, you definitely have beer bans, especially when the game starts up. But here, you can drink a beer at any time.
Best part of going to a baseball game, for those who don't understand the charm of it, sitting and chatting.
Yeah, I've had some of my best life conversations with some of the closest friends of mine at baseball games. Built some of my really strongest friendships just by going to Yankee games.
What's up, members of the Barrio? It's John coming to you from Brooklyn, and we are in front of Greenwood Cemetery. This is one of New York's most unique places to visit, and you're gonna find out why. We're gonna be exploring with the historian of the cemetery, Jeff Richmond, and he's gonna be telling us all about the history of this place and what makes it so special. Let's go explore one of New York's buried treasures. Guys, I've got a special guest. Well, somebody you've seen many times on this channel, Jacob Carlson, is joining us.
Buddy.
He's gonna be doing a photo tour on his channel of Greenwood Cemetery, a different perspective, but Jacob, you've been here a couple times, right?
Oh yeah, I love this place. It's one of my favorite places in New York.
Just to give people a little introduction to Greenwood Cemetery, what makes this place so special for somebody visiting New York City?
Well, it's a remarkable space. We have 478 acres in the middle of Brooklyn, developed urban Brooklyn. And so it is really a green oasis where people get an opportunity to come in here and to enjoy this place at whatever level they would like to enjoy it.
And guys, with that, we are going to have one heck of an informational and exciting tour coming up. Get ready. Guys, we are walking up a hill right now, about to open up a mausoleum. They do not do this on every single tour. Jeff, he said they're making a special exception for us.
Line this key up, there we go. We throw the lock, and then we gotta push the door open. So this would have been Civil War era, and it is signed on the side by the sculptor, J.M. Moffat. And we see that Willie Anderson was a child who was almost 6 years old and died in 1862. The key to the outside metal door, and then the key to the granite door. So this is what we call inconspicuous consumption here. These are the 3 carvings, actually 4 carvings are by John Moffat. who built this, and the idea that you would put these in here and then lock this place up so that no one could see it is kind of interesting. To catch the sound, the finality of the sound.
All right, guys, we're getting locked in. Jacob, enjoying eternity together. Can we get out of here now? Can't see anything. I'm absolutely loving hearing about the history here from Jeff. I mean, you have the Civil War monument here. There were 148,000 Union soldiers from the city of New York. You have the Revolutionary War history here. The biggest battle of the Revolutionary War was fought right here. And yeah, this would be an interesting alternative if you didn't want to go to a museum. Come here instead. Plenty of history all around you.
The altar to Liberty is here, and Minerva is saluting her sister, the Statue of Liberty in the harbor. So the Statue of Liberty has her right arm raised with her torch, and Minerva has her left arm raised, and the two women are saluting back and forth. And so this is a monument to the Battle of Brooklyn, which was fought on this hill and throughout Brooklyn, and was the largest battle of the entire American Revolution.
Really surprised. So Leonard Bernstein, massively popular composer, one of my favorite composers. I was expecting a very extravagant and elaborate mausoleum or some sort of sculpture, and his gravestone is actually very, very modest and very understated.
So Jeff, one fact that I found very interesting about this place when I did my research was that after Niagara Falls, Greenwood Cemetery was one of the most popular tourist attractions in the United States in the 1850s.
Right. It was the second attraction after Niagara Falls. And so people flocked to this place, and it became the argument for Central Park. The proponents of Central Park said, look at Greenwood. If Greenwood attracts 500,000 people a year, imagine if we build a centrally located park in Manhattan, how many people would come to visit there?
This was the original tourist attraction of New York City, guys. Think about that a little bit. We are going to talk about the tour options towards the end of this video, but you could just pick up a map from the front gate, go around, and visit whatever tombs or monuments interest you most, and you'll even have a little bit of historical data written down about it as well if you're a do-it-yourself kind of person.
A gravesite of much pilgrimage. People bring all sorts of things to leave here as a tribute to him. He died in 31 years ago now, 1988. Started out in New York as a graffiti, really street artist. And his paintings, one of his paintings sold just a few years ago for $110 million.
And guys, look what they left for him. Sunglasses, paintbrush. I don't know if there's a better time to come to Greenwood Cemetery than the fall with all the foliage everywhere. Jacob was saying he's been here before in the spring, and Jeff was saying that they have some cherry blossoms around. So I think my next visit here will be in the spring. But Jacob's having a field day taking pictures. I mean, this cemetery is a photographer's dream come true, really. We're about to enter the catacombs, which is one of New York's most unique event spaces. You'll see.
It's now become kind of a cultural center of the cemetery. We have opera performances in here. We have artists exhibiting in here. And it's a wonderful space, wonderful acoustics.
I wasn't kidding about the acoustics. I mean, my voice is just bouncing off everywhere here.
You can see how this lights your face here. So we did an event years ago where we had volunteers dressed as angels with the roster of who was buried in each of the vaults, and they would ring a bell and read a name of a person who was interred here. So this is the Steinway family of piano fame. This is the largest mausoleum in the cemetery. It has room for 128 interments on the main floor, and then there's a granite slab, and you can lift that up, and 128 room in the basement.
Guys, we are at our final stop, Tranquility Gardens. This is one of the more modern things you could see here at Greenwood Cemetery. Have some fish swimming, you have a mausoleum where people were cremated. So this is right by the front entrance, actually. This could be your first stop, but it's our last stop.
This, we have a crematory adjoining here, one of only 5 in New York City. And this is for cremated remains in little niches along this area. And so this is part of the design, the koi that are in here, and very happy and doing very well, except when an occasional egret comes fishing in here. And so what you really should do is come visit, take part in the events. We have very extensive and varied programming here, over 200 events per year. You can enjoy this place as an arboretum, as a just place of peace and quiet, as a place of a historic park. And we do have an informal motto here at the cemetery, which is come visit while you still can leave.
Today we'll be giving you an insider look at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, also known as the Met, one of the most popular attractions in New York City. We'll have an art historian guiding us around, showing us the most important works if your time is limited, and even a few surprises. You don't want to miss it. This is the most visited museum in New York. 6 million people come every year, and today it feels like 1 million of them are here. Really crowded. What about admissions? Well, the good news is if you're a New York State resident or a student in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut, you can pay what you wish. Otherwise, it's $30 for adults, $22 for seniors, $17 for students, and I recommend you buy the ticket in advance. So crazy enough, Seth was actually my art history professor at Rutgers. He's a New York City resident and a museum expert.
When you go to Paris, you go to the Louvre. Come to New York, you come to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It is one of the world's classiest and greatest museums and deserves to be visited by everyone.
If it's your first time at the Met, you need to grab a map the second you walk in. This will be very handy. How many times do you think you've been to the Met in your life?
Twice a week for 30 years.
This is probably one of the most iconic rooms in the entire museum, one of the most recognizable ones, right?
Absolutely. The Temple of Dendur, my God. This was a gift from the Egyptian government to the United States. And President Johnson decided between Boston, Washington, and New York that it would come here to New York City. And the humidity in here is the same humidity as the Nile, and it is the only Egyptian temple in the United States.
So if you can't afford the plane tickets to Egypt, it's a little cheaper to come to the Met.
Little.
This is to be the Nile, we gotta have a crocodile.
And this is the Nile crocodile, an ancient Egyptian Nile crocodile, no less.
That's crazy. Before I came here.
This is George Washington crossing the Delaware.
I've seen, I think this is in every history book.
Every history book that we have, this is reproduced. And why you come to the Met is that not just that they have it, but look how big it is. Look at the scale of this thing. If we walk up to it, we're much smaller than most of these people. But it's political propaganda. The event happened. Washington did cross the Delaware on the 26th of December 1776. But do you think an older man can stand up in a rocky boat like that? No, unlikely. Artist was a German, Emanuel Lutze. Was destroyed in World War II during American bombing, and this is a copy that he made. But it was
ironically destroyed by Americans.
Right, and so the reason he made this is because they were having a revolution at the time, and this was to spur on their revolution.
Washington is like 8 feet tall.
Exactly. This is remarkable. This is the finest collection of American art, decorative art, sculpture, rooms anywhere. And it should be a must for any overseas visitor because you're not going to see this quality and quantity of American art anywhere but here. So imagine in a very wealthy house, going up a flight of steps, and at the end of the steps, this is the window that was there. First of all, we have breakfast at Tiffany's. Tiffany of the jewelry store with the blue box. This is his son. One of his specialties was glass, and he actually in Queens, Corona, Queens, he created a glass factory where he produced colored glass. And he had a team of women artists who designed this for him. So we know who designed this, Agnes Northrup, and she created this autumn scene. So I look at this and I instantly say something like, God, doesn't it look like fall colors? Doesn't it look like the sun is about to set? And though this looks like it might be painted, it's not. It's 100% glass. And he invented glass to create this illusion. Do you see it looks like confetti almost?
Yeah.
It's called confetti glass, and he made it, and it almost looks like leaves are falling using that kind of confetti glass. You can really see the quality of the glass and the color as the light comes through it. And that you can only experience in a museum.
The colors, that's very northeastern United States.
Absolutely.
You can see where he got that motivation
Absolutely.
from.
No question. This is fall in the Northeast.
With my first intelligent statement of the day.
This is the single most important painting at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It is what I would consider the Mona Lisa of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It is in every single art history textbook. And it is the reason you should come to a museum. And that is because there are things in this painting that you will see in person that you cannot see reproduced. It's a portrait of a young man. We don't know who he is, but we probably could guess he's wealthy, he's well-dressed, he's learned, he has hands in a book. But what is never reproduced, unless you're here in person, is just, you see there's a mask over to the left, right, in the furniture. The pants area over here, 2 eyes and a nose. There's actually a mask in there also. Yes, it's never reproduced. And so you have these 3 masks, mask over here, mask in there, mask over there. Was he part of the theater? Was just something erudite and fancy? That's why you come to this museum, to be able to see the nuances of the black and the blue and the black, and then that mask. And I almost defy anybody to show that reproduced. All these pictures, everything you see, every room, everything here, this is a political statement. It's not just a pretty picture of a landscape. It has a meaning behind it, and that meaning is generally a political meaning. The river comes and it loops around like that to create an oxbow. It's called an oxbow. If you notice on the right or the east, it's all cultivated. Right? And if you get very close, not too close that they're going to yell at us, but you can see at first glance it doesn't look like there's anyone there. But in fact, the reason you come to the Met or to a museum is there are hundreds of people and animals and people working the fields. Very hard to see. And you see smoke. I mean, just right in the fields right over there. Just amazing to see the activity that's going on. On the east, cultivated. On the west or the left, it's wild. And what Thomas Cole is doing here is a political statement. He is saying that the America is eating up its land and it's cultivating it. And this, though it looks positive to us, for his statement it was negative, that the land is being wasted, used, and the wild land that you see over here, this is the Garden of Eden, is wild. That's what America really is or was.
That is an Ionic column. I learned that in his class. I never forgot the difference between Ionic, Doric, and Corinthian columns because of this man right here.
Yeah, right. This is the Met Kouros, and a Kouros is a standing young male nude. Now let me say something right away. If I took off my clothes and stood in front of you, I'd be naked. I'd be ashamed. Ben's camera would break, and it would be awful, besides being arrested. But this guy is not naked. He's nude. He is in a natural state. He is heroic. And that's what the Greeks believed in, is this kind of heroic nudity. Anyway, why is this so important? Why is it in every survey of art history textbook in the world? And it's because it's the very first Greek monument, about 600 BC, that breaks out of the Egyptian model. Egyptian models were left foot forward, right foot back, like in a block of stone. This one, it's like they've opened it up. It's a real person about to walk out. in the Naples area is a volcano, Mount Etna, erupted in 79 AD, covering everything. And this room was in a villa at the foot of Mount Etna, and it was covered up for almost 1,000 years until it came out and ultimately was bought and brought here too. And it's Roman wall painting, it's frescoes. And so you have to imagine someone in the high country living in here, bed would be probably down there somewhere, and they're looking through illusionistic architecture, see the Corinthian column, looking through to a cityscape. And then, because it's a bedroom, your grandmother probably does that. She has guests come over. What does she do? She might put out a bowl of fruit for people. Do you see the bowl of fruit in a translucent, just to the right of the window over there?
What year was that?
This is 50 BC.
50, that's a long history of that.
Right, and they're birds. See the birds sitting in there?
Yeah.
So it's as if you're sitting here dreaming and you can open your eyes and look out to this, to the cityscape, to this landscape. I think the Chinese Garden is one of the coolest spots in the Met. It's always calm in here.
I don't think I've ever been here before, and I've been to the Met like a dozen times.
There are very few people. Usually when it's really busy in the Met and you want to just break away, this is the spot you can come to. Open to the sky. And the thing that I find remarkable is this is the only place in the Met they actually have live animals. They actually have koi, goldfish. The garden was created by artists from China who came over.
Is one of the most popular I've seen in the entire museum. It's packed.
The reason you come to the museum to see the Van Gogh in person is to see the quality of paint. How did Van Gogh paint? And you see there are the clouds, and the clouds have movement. I mean, they really look like they're moving. And the wheat field down below looks like it's moving. It looks like it's shimmering. And then halfway between wheat field and the clouds, there's a rolling hills. Those rolling hills exist. I always thought the man was crazy and those were just a figment of his imagination. But I rented a house right near in this town of Saint Remy. And those rolling hills, they looked just like that. But when you're standing in front of it, you can see the paint literally rising off the surface, and light in the room rebounds off of it. And it gives it this remarkable quality. So this is really similar to one that most everybody knows at the Museum of Modern Art, Starry Night. This one's bigger, Starry Night's smaller, but it's the same town, same view, same wheat field, same hills, Les Beaux.
All right, another hidden gem of the Met, which we couldn't go to today, is the rooftop. If you want to get a great view of Central Park, that is the spot to do it. They also have a bar up there. On some weekends, they have DJs there as well. As you can see right now, the line to go up to party on the Met rooftop is long.
I'll be surprised if what we're going to look at now, there's anybody looking at it. And that's because this is the single, in my opinion, most important work of Italian Renaissance in the United States. And it's a room called a studiolo, a ducal palace in somebody's home. You have a series of rooms, and the innermost room, the inner sanctum, where the Duke and the Duke alone is allowed in, where all the important papers are, it's his study basically. And it's done with the most intricate wood inlay. Illusionistically, he has things from his army days, but he also has the parts of music. Now, this is all illusionism. There's nothing real in here. When you looks like a door that's opened or a window that's open, that's an illusion. It's what we call trompe-l'oeil, fool the eye. And this is the best example in the United States of this kind of trompe-l'oeil. And it's all done in wood, different kinds of wood.
So this is actually my personal favorite exhibit at the Met, Perseus with the head of Medusa, simply because I'm a big fan of Greek mythology. I always love this story, so every time I come to the Met and I pass this, I gotta do a second take.
The reason I like this so much is it is probably, if I had to put my finger on it, where modern art starts. Pablo Picasso. I mean, he's one of the great thinkers in art, and this is his patron, Gertrude Stein, an American who lived in Paris. And why is it the origin of modern art? Well, look at the sofa behind her. It starts over here, but it disappears on the left-hand side. If you see her eye, One eye looks one way, the other eye looks the other way. It almost looks like a mask. Her ear disappears. Her nose almost looks like a mask that's been flattened a little bit. Her hands don't really look right. He decides to break away from the Western tradition, and this is the beginning of that. This picture alone is going to set the stage for Cubism, Futurism, and all the other isms that come after it.
Seth, for a first-timer coming to the Met, any big tips for them? Like, how long should they come?
Okay, so don't overdo it. Coming to the Met or any museum should be fun. You should pick a handful of objects that are of interest to you, look ahead of time, use the video to pick some things, go and see it, but don't burn out.
This is good New York City advice too. Ben, can we show them? Wear comfortable shoes. I feel like we've walked 20 city blocks in here. This is a humongous museum. You can easily tire yourself out here.
5.4 miles we did, 11,200 steps.
We walked 5 miles in here.
There are only 34 Vermeer in the world. Of those 34, there are a quarter of them are in New York, between the Met and the Frick, which is just a few blocks away. And 5 are here in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We have 1/4 of all the Vermeers in the world here. And you might know Vermeer because of the girl with the pearl earring, which is either the movie or the book. He's a marvel, and though it's not any one work, it's all of them together. And that's what makes coming to the Met so special. Nowhere else in the world will you see this many of Johannes Vermeer.
Members of the barrio, New York City has a new attraction, a 2.6-acre park on a floating island over the Hudson River, and it cost $260 million to make. Is Little Island worth visiting? Let's find out. 14th Street is that way. We're adjacent to the Highline and the island right here.
It was built on top of 132 concrete columns shaped like a tulip. This is the first new park to open in the city since the pandemic began.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I really want to see it. It looks really cool from here, so I can't in my high looks above. I really want to see it.
Is that Action Kid from YouTube? Dude, what are you doing
here, man? I'm going here again to film it.
I think he's stalking us.
No, actually, guys, we planned this. You do need a time ticket from 12 to 8 p.m. You can get it on their website.
It seems like every single New York YouTuber did this video already, and I did not watch any of their videos, including Action Kids, because I want this to be a true first impression without me seeing stuff and knowing what's coming. Any excitement you see from me or disappointment is going to be real.
For how many?
Oh, it's for 2, but she has the other ticket, my wife, right there.
Oh yeah, you're all fine.
Okay, thank you.
We're in Rolling Hills. Feels like a theme park minus the cost of admission, since this is completely free.
What was your first impression of this place?
I thought of the Microsoft Windows XP wallpaper with the rolling hills and the sunshine.
This park just opened on Friday after the construction took almost 7 years, and it was almost entirely a private donation by media mogul Barry Diller. $260 million. And one of the architects was Thomas Heatherwick. You might know him. Also designed the vessel.
I don't know what I just did. What do we call that musical number?
I don't know. Action Kid in style.
This is the 800 capacity amphitheater here, and starting in June, they're actually going to have performances. And like Action Kid said, it feels like you're watching a show on a boat.
I could think of far worse views for a concert in New York City. I have a feeling there's going to be some good acts here.
Amazing photo opportunities abound at Little Island.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
We've got 35 species of trees, 65 species of shrubs, and 270 varieties of grass, perennial vines, and bulbs. This is supposed to feel like a little oasis at the edge of Manhattan.
I think this is gonna become the new proposal spot for people in New York. It's really cool. I can't imagine how it looks on the sunset. Do you want to propose again? I might say no this time.
Action Kid, you want to propose to somebody? Want to find a girl?
Possibly. Over here.
I call this the tourist triangle. You've got the edge up there, you've got the High Line down there, and we've got Little Island right here.
And the vessel over there.
And the vessel
somewhere.
If it ever reopens, we hope.
I keep hearing the xylophone playing everywhere. I'm getting these Fantasy Island vibes. I'm fully expecting a dodo bird and Oompa Loompas to be frolicking somewhere here.
I was expecting fairies.
Fairies, hobbits.
I don't see anything. Maybe.
Leprechauns.
Magicians.
Action Kid.
This is the dimension of imagination. It's an area we call Little Island.
I'm seeing spinny stuff.
That's weird. Oh. I feel like I just took something. This is the best part of Little Island, I think. You just find a rock, sit, enjoy the views.
Then you see the Empire State Building all the way in the distance.
So behind me is the former Department of Sanitation garage. They're turning that into a public park. Pretty cool, right?
I think they should name it Big Island. Is it gonna be bigger? Imagine
Big
that.
Island.
They're just so unoriginal. They're like, we're gonna call it Big Island.
Yeah, so this is by far the most popular spot on Little Island because you have the Manhattan skyline this way and lovely New Jersey this way.
By the way, every time I make a New Jersey joke on the channel, I do it because I'm from New Jersey. I do it with love. Now the sun is coming out. The park looks so much nicer now from up here. Dude, where was this 15 to 20 minutes ago?
What happened? We needed this.
The flowers just smell really good. I like it. The purple one.
Clearly they paid a lot of attention to gardening and how they were going to grow everything here.
Because they didn't just build an island, they basically built like a whole nature,
like an ecosystem,
like an ecosystem, right?
Yeah, feels like something that's a backyard that they made it like super, super cool.
Action Kid said the bathroom is the best feature of Little Island. I'm not making this up, I gotta see this.
It's like a cave. I like it, it's really cool.
It's like one of those hotels in Turkey or Greece where you're inside of the cave. You still contend it's the best feature of Little Island is the bathroom?
I think so, yeah.
Have you ever said that about any attraction in New York City?
No. We have to come here at night. I mean, I've noticed so many like lights around here. I wonder how it looks like at nighttime.
There's been pictures of it at night. It looked cool. That's the next step. I think this would be a great park, even if it wasn't surrounded by the Manhattan skyline. It's very imaginative. Like, I haven't been to too many parks like this before. Usually, you expect the same thing. Here, it's sort of expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Like the bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah. Guys, we have an Easter egg. Action Kid, who's been here like 10 times, has shown us that you can actually skip the stairs and just take this path.
Coming up next, hidden secrets of Little Island.
That's the type of video I would do. Like the bathroom is actually a spa. Yeah. Action Kid makes a great point because look, they have these little paths you can just jump off. It's a very whimsical park. I love it.
Like even over there.
Yeah, like this place is really growing on me.
You know what this reminds me of is Governor's Island.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that little like rocky climbing thing on the hill. I mean, it was hectic and chaotic on the first day. I had to wait like 40 minutes for my order to get ready.
What did you order that took 40 minutes?
2 spicy chicken sandwiches, which was $12 each. French fries, which was $7. We got an iced tea, and we also got a lemonade.
Very complex order.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Beer is $8, chicken sandwich is $7.
Too expensive? It's a little pricey. It's a little pricey.
Yeah, a little bit.
Even get CBD here.
Then you'll have a real trip, huh?
Yeah.
In this place with all these like stairs and everything, that would be really fun.
That might be a good TikTok. Yeah.
What is so interesting about this water fountain for you?
What is so interesting?
Yes.
It lasts a long time. Look at it. It's still going. It's like anything you play, you can go wrong.
What's up, members of the barrio? It's John coming to you from the financial district of Manhattan. And on this freezing cold day, I'm going to be showing you around what I think is one of the coolest indoor things you can do on your next trip to New York City. One World Trade Center, the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, has an observatory at the top, and the team at One World Trade is giving us the opportunity to show it to you guys. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion if I think it's worth going up there and spending $34 on this experience. Here we go.
Guys, I am most excited because Team Adriana is going to go to the observatory for the first time in her New York stay. Are you excited?
Yes, Jim has been talking a lot about it, and I really want to see it because it seems like he has something really cool to show me out there, and I want to see it.
And we have another special guest, Tal from the Traveling Clat. He's been running all over New York the last couple of months, and it's your first time as well, right?
I'm so excited. I was at the top of the Twin Towers a week before they came down, so for me this is a big moment to come to the top of this one.
Again, I am just super excited to show Adriana this. I've been wanting to take her for a long time.
I want to see it. I want to see what you're talking about.
The elevator ride is coming up, guys, and if you've never taken this elevator ride before, let me say, it is the coolest elevator ride I've ever taken in my life. You're about to find out why. You like lines?
No.
We're gonna be waiting just a little bit. Just a little. So we just got through security, and when you walk through, they have videos playing, and a lot of the construction workers who helped build this building give their opinions on how important it is to New York City. So the experience begins the second you get right past security, and it's very nice.
When there was no windows. This isn't real, this is plastic, but it's meant to represent the granite that New York City is built on top of. That the building, that basically allows New York to build buildings so high. And that's where we start underground and then we go up.
So Tal has gotten us a private press elevator, we'll call it, just us four to ride to the 102nd floor on the Sky Pod. This is one of the fastest elevators in the world. We're gonna get up there in about 60 seconds. And what you're about to see on the walls of the elevator, well, it's very unique. Ready? Guys, you're about to see the history of New York City from the 1500s on. Here we go. What'd you think?
That's amazing, guys. You have to do it. It's awesome. Like, you see New York, how it was built. It's amazing.
I liked New York in the 1600s when it was just forest. That was my favorite part.
I know.
Seeing how it sprouts up.
Like, you believe that you think that New York was always there, but of course it wasn't, and it's amazing.
Most people here were expecting that you watch a little show before you go in, and it reveals a view. We've gone down 2 floors to the actual observation deck. This is, I guess, the moment you guys are waiting for to see if it's actually worth it to come here. I believe we're on floor 100 right now, the tallest point that public can get access to in the Western Hemisphere. First view coming up. You ready? Oh my. Man, you can see so far away. I can see the Bronx. I think I can even see Westchester County in the distance, New York State, and all of New Jersey right there. Now, the cool thing about the observatory is that you have a 360-degree view, so you can walk all around and pinpoint different local attractions if you know what to look for. So let's see what I can recognize just from being this high up. Adriana's going to show you guys where we live.
We live right here. You can see the arch.
Oh, I see. Guys, like the Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, Williamsburg Bridge. I feel like a god up here. They do serve beer up here. $10 if you want a beer with your view, or $14 for the cheapest glass of wine. But what do you expect? I mean, you are at the top of the Western Hemisphere. Drinks aren't going to be cheap.
Right behind John is a show where they talk about a lot of New York's history and like how it was built the way it was and why it was built the way it was. It's really interesting. Don't skip over it just because it's not the view. There's a lot of interesting information there.
You've learned at least one thing about Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan. The 5 boroughs, we didn't leave anything out.
A lot of people tend to focus on the views of Midtown Manhattan and the Brooklyn Bridge and the Williamsburg, Manhattan bridges, but I actually prefer the views this way of the Statue of Liberty and Governor's Island. You can see the water, you can see the Staten Island Ferry. There's a lot less people kind of huddled here, and it's just beautiful. On a sunny day like this, I would recommend making sure you're coming on a clear day to get the views of the city. Like you just put a green screen of New York City behind me and I'm shooting a video, but it's actually there. It's breathtaking for sure.
It was absolutely incredible. I just want, like, for us to be working with the One World Trade Center Observatory is so freaking cool, and to be able to like be sent up here and be able to see all this stuff is just amazing to me. Like, it's just a surreal experience. I had to take a few moments to just look out the window without filming, without touching the camera, and just really take it all in because it's so incredible.
So, John, did One World Observatory live up to the hype?
Oh, definitely. From the beginning to the top. It's amazing. All the way here, you see how New York was built, and then you get to see above New York. Like, how many chances you have to do that? It's incredible.
Oh, it's even worse.
Spinning.
Oh man. It's rough. Oh my god. It's like being in a VR chamber.
Yeah.
Oh, god. That's bad.
All of our ears are popping right now.
Thank you for visiting One World Observatory.